Hey, welcome back to the Blue Collar Off-Road Podcast, episode 76. So this is an exciting one for us. We've got the owner of F&F, which is, if you live in New England, probably the park to, I think it's a notorious park at the very least. Maybe not for everybody, but they've always got cool events going on and doing all sorts of cool stuff, and the trails are awesome. I've only been there a few times, and I wish I had gone more over the past 5 years. I also didn't introduce Cody, Luke, or Richie, which is
I was
just
gonna
a
call you out
theme
on it.
here.
Don't
Yeah, no,
worry.
I saw you. Uh,
You
so,
also said the
and
guest, yeah.
yeah, I know I haven't even mentioned Bob yet. We got Bob Swinski on, if you couldn't guess, like I said, Field and Forrest owner,
There you go.
operator. Um, and I know you've got a bunch of stories to tell, probably about that park, because I imagine you're always there. You definitely love the sport because you own a park, and I don't know if I've ever seen you at the park. I don't know what kind of rigs you have, so I guess do we want to start with the tried and true? How'd you get into wheeling? What got you hooked?
My parents. I grew up as in elementary school, going off-roading with my dad, first in the CJ5s, and then Plymouth Trail Dusters.
Plymouth
Not
Trail
Ram, like
Dusters.
Plymouth Trail Dusters. And then when my mom and dad got divorced, the first thing my mom did is go out and buy an early Bronco so she'd keep off-roading with us kids. So I got hooked at an early age. I'm like, please take me off roading. Yeah, I don't even need a seatbelt. I'll hang on. I'm good to go. Just let's go. So I got hooked hard and heavy. And first thing I did when I got out of trade school is buy an early Bronco from my uncle. And oh my God, I've gone through so many early Broncos back when they were cheap.
Hmm.
$500 parts Bronco to keep the $1,500 toilet running.
Were
You
there
know,
were there that many Broncos around back in whenever this was?
for me, yes. So I graduated trade school in '86. Well, 1 year trade school. I'm a 1985 graduate from high school. So yeah, back in my hometown of Westerly, Rhode Island, there were a lot, like, and they were cheap, and there were rusted out toilets in the field. So a good one that was built would be like $5,000-6,000 back then, and that was I had to take out a loan to come up with that kind of money. So it was always the $1,000 to $1,500 trucks for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, believe it or not, it's hard to imagine now with what they go for now that they
No,
were
they're
that.
ridiculous. That's why I hate them. I don't know if I know you've listened to a few of them, but if you've listened to enough of them, you know that I really don't like early Broncos, just because of how obnoxiously expensive they are for what they are. And yeah, we've
I feel
just
like one day the Cherokees are gonna be that though, honestly.
Cherokees are already on their way there. A
Yep.
friend of mine just bought one, and to find one that didn't have like massive problems was 3K.
What?
Yeah.
That's going, and it's because people are willing to spend the money for it. It's not even that the Cherokee is worth it. It's just one person comes along and he's got a pocket full of cash and he's not afraid to pay too much money for it, and then the next person has to, and then
yeah.
before you know, people won't even think about getting off them without asking all the money for them.
Yeah, Cherokees now have trail tax just like certain BMWs and certain other cars get drift taxes.
Nissans.
Yeah,
Yep.
Nissans with their drift taxes. I mean,
I don't think we're there yet
in
because
New England, you are not.
I was gonna say because like your old like E36 BMW as we talked about with Chris, I think it was, he spoke on it, or even the Nissans. Those are kind of out there. Where I'd say Cherokees just have like a spice of trail tax. I wouldn't say they're there yet. But I mean, out in California, a $2,000 rig here is like $8,000 out there. It's pretty crazy. So hopefully they don't go skyrocketing, or maybe if I sell my ship box, then they do go skyrocketing. But
Yours
I
will
don't
not be
know.
worth anything.
I
Wow.
can tell you right now that Cody's
Rude.
rig would get 5K down here all day.
Really? The way it sits?
Yeah.
Fuck you,
Oh,
Graham. All right, how do
okay.
you feel
Yeah,
now?
we'll move to Tennessee and get out of here then. Fine.
No, no, no. But
Hey, samurais are suddenly collectible, and
yeah,
people have all the money for them. A bone stock one, 8, 10 grand, 12
Jesus.
grand. Like, are you serious?
For
Like,
Yeah.
like a golf
Hammer
cart? Yeah.
a couple $100 online.
mm-hmm.
Is that 8 grand for all 8 of them in the guy's yard, or? I mean, they're
No, it's more.
collectible. It's because everybody has. You can't just have one samurai. They have at least two, and usually
Yeah.
more. It's hilarious.
gotta have parts, bro.
Yeah, I know. And they're easy to store. You could fit like 4 of them in the footprint of a Cherokee.
You just turn them sideways and put them in a shipping container.
So you mentioned that you had Broncos. Do you currently have a rig, or
Do in fact. I bought the Catrini's Samurai last fall. So it came here, it ran Humble Pie, qualified for Humble Pie. They declined to run it in the Bounty Run. They left it here, and we talked about a deal before he even left. He pulled all the stuff out of it and left it. He was going to leave it here for me to use anyways. Michael's a really good friend. Taylor's a really good friend. So I was going to hang on to it for the rest of the season and just use it around the property anyways. And he made me a deal I couldn't pass up. Like, that thing is so built for what it is. It's run Humble Pie 3 full times, qualified 3 full times, run a Bounty Run once.
wow?
Like, it's rolled off of the Sucker Punch drop twice badly.
Oh God. Uh,
Yeah, we'll buy it. I'm just,
it's well built. Yeah.
I have no plans to change one thing on that. Maybe the headlights, because it's got these dinky little square LEDs up front. I'm thinking about putting some round ones in just because they'll look cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't seen pictures of it, or I've never seen it before. Can you tell me a little bit about it? Like, is it 4-link, 3-link? Like, give us the whole little rundown for it.
3-link front and back, built Toyota axles with all the goodies, both in the front and back, disc brake conversion and back, 529s, Grizzly lockers, 3-link suspension that he designed and ran on his calculator, and they work killer. Air shocks, pretty simple, straightforward stuff. 37-inch reds. Doubler with 6.5 to 1 gears and Sammy case. So it's got a crawl of 222 to 1, something like that.
Wow.
It's like Eddie's ratio almost.
Yeah, it sounds just about.
Or
similar.
that's a little deeper than Eddie's ratio, I should say.
That's
Uh,
cool. I definitely.
And
Sorry,
with
Rob.
the 37s, that's low, right?
It pushed 39.5-inch IROCs all winter in the snow, and so I just cut the doubler off and run it on just the rear case, the 6.5 to 1 case, and like basically everything is you take off in third
Yeah.
and keep it along. Tires just turn, and if it hesitates, you stop, you push the clutch in, you hit the rev limiter 3 or 4 times, you sidestep the clutch, and up you go because it's so light. And,
Yeah.
that's how you drive a Samurai, as slow as possible,
at the rev limiter.
and be very intimate with the as fast as necessary part. Yeah, I've gotten up so many obstacles because mid-obstacle, when it stopped going forward, I just throw the clutch in, let it rev again, pop the clutch, and the rig is so light that it'll hop and like do something. It's not like a
Yeah, you're
Four-
you're breaking the. You don't have to have traction because you're jumping over the spot that you're not getting traction.
So after my years and years of Cherokees, I got my first Samurai, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is the coolest thing ever! The harder you beat it, the better it goes." And with 60 horsepower and no lockers, they're basically unbreakable. You basically can't break an axle with it unlocked. They have a GVW of 2,900.
Oh my god.
Put 2 of them on a normal car hauler almost.
My rough calculation is that it's rated for like 900 pounds of weight. So sitting there empty, it's probably like 2,000 pounds.
Damn.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. Now, we get asked pretty often, we think that they should bump up to tons. Have you ever considered it for your rig, or just no way?
There were a few people with Samurais who have upgraded to tons. Most of them regret it. Mikey Galdi, for one, he's like, kind of wish I was just still on tons. I mean, still on Toyotas. Up to 37-inch tires and modestly smart driving, as long as the Toyotas are built. So even if you put tons in, you can't run stock 30 spline outers. You got to go to 35 splines. So that means you're chromoing it. Why bother doing that to the outers if you're not going to do it to the inners? Might as well put a super joint in there. So like the snowball just keeps on going. And now it's like, all right, now they're so big, even with a shave kit, I got to run 39s. So, or 42s. Like at that point, why not run 42s? Because, hey, more clearance and more tire.
You still got the 60 horsepower to not break them with.
Yeah, well, you can break tons even with 60 horse. And I only know that because I see it weekend in and weekend out. We have some big undercuts here. I mean, big holes in front of rocks. So, I mean, with 222 to 1.
You can break anything if you try hard enough with that.
Yeah. Even not even trying, you just sort of like...
You wedge it in the wrong spot.
Somebody doesn't tell you that your tire is trapped, and all of a sudden, it's just... before you can even react to the bind. Bing!
And that's why I'm so surprised that Graham has actually ran field and Forrest.
Well, yeah,
He loves those undercuts.
yeah, I'd have a tendency to jam my axle or my wheel into a bad spot and just blow everything up in an act. And that happened to my 30, happened to the 50 multiple times. Yeah, and I imagine it'll happen to the new axle.
What are you building now?
Just an '05, just cookie cutter. Yeah, just an '05, 1550 shafts. Going to coilovers in the front. Staying with hydro assist, but I've got the drag link and track bar at equal lengths, roughly.
Nice.
I don't have it underneath there yet, but I'm hoping it rides really nice. I'm trying to keep it moderately streetable for what it is. It's not by any stretch of the imagination road legal, but it kind of looks like a Cherokee, and I haven't had issues in the past 4 years of driving it with 37s on tons. So, or the 50 and the 10.5, which is basically the same thing. So we're getting there.
I can appreciate still driving on the road. I can say I miss it. I'm glad that we're getting back into it. Liza's got an LJ on 35s. Nothing, no lockers or anything, but it's nice to be able to leave property and go for a cruise, hit the class sixes, go for a grand adventure. It's almost like dual sporting, and I'm heavy into dual sporting right now. Like I said, Liza's LJ. She's correct.
What do you have for dual sport?
I have a KTM 950 Super Enduro and a TE4. I'd never ride because the 950 just stole my heart.
Yeah, I was thinking about picking up an FE 505, the Husky, a while back, but I couldn't stomach that 11,000 price range, or I think it was 10,000 at the time. But still, they're sick. But I don't know.
I paid mine. So my bike, my KTM is an '09. I went to Jefferson City, Missouri to buy it, sight unseen. In 2018 for $8,500.
Oh my God!
They made 3,000 worldwide across 3 years.
Holy crap! That's an incredible deal, honestly. Wow.
I didn't even hesitate. I'm like, please don't sell it to anybody else. I'm on my way.
That's crazy.
That's the one thing I miss. I kind of substituted my dirt biking with Jeeps, and I miss it sometimes. I mean, granted, I've definitely gained some weight. I'm not as nimble. I'm more of like a water buffalo rather than I'd say, I don't know, I was more of a gorilla then, and now I'm a water buffalo, so I think the dirt biking would hurt me now, but I do miss it a lot.
Well, you'd bounce a little more. You'd be fun.
I don't think so, man.
Dude, it's pretty cool to be the fat guy in front and have everybody huffing and puffing trying to catch up to you. Not gonna lie.
That's how I was most of my younger years. Like my dad was into dirt biking too, where a lot of my friends, it was like their parents were into it. So me and my dad would go out all the time. So I'd get a lot more riding and seat time than other friends. So I'd be just going and going and going. And finally, like my buddies would be in the back, like, "Can we stop for a second?" I'm like, "What do you mean stop it? Like I don't even got arm pump yet. Let's keep it going." Good times for sure.
Yep. The riding that I do is basically overlanding with two wheels,
That's awesome.
or
That
or
is
or,
sweet.
or a day of jeeping with a club on two wheels. The same sort of deal. Like we're on and off roads and onto class sixes and all day long. I leave right from the property. We have a class six that runs through our property, so I take
Really?
way out to the class six and I ride 2.5 miles of dirt before I even hit the first pavement right from the backfield.
Gotta love it.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like there are perks. It's not all Skittles and beer here, but there are perks. There are worse ways to make a living.
Yeah, that's for
Amen to that. So speaking on that, what kind of made you what made you buy the property? I mean, did you go into it with the idea of the activities, or was it what do you have in mind? Give us that.
Want the long version or short version?
Give us whatever you
Let's
got.
put the long one.
So
Whatever you got
long
time.
version is I have been a member of New England and NEA clubs since '01. So I joined John Fund in '01 when I bought my first Cherokee. None of my friends were into off-roading anymore, and I got rid of my quad and got back into off-roading. I bought a Cherokee and like got sucked right in. I'm like, this is cool. Like this thing's cool. It's a two-door Cherokee. And this is back when like Rubicon Express was just starting. Tompkin Machine was one of the top Jeep parts supplier companies. Like dark days, like first version of Naxtra, where it was long form, more like Reddit is now.
Yep.
And so I was a member of John Fund, and I got sucked right in. I'm like, this is the best money anybody can possibly spend on their rig is joining a club. Because look, I'm around all these other people that want to do the same thing as me. This is great. So in 2002, I joined a board there. 2003, before I left the board there, Paul Regish, who was helping form the NEA, came and gave us the board of John Fund a sales pitch, like, hey, you guys should join with us, and here's what it'll cost, and we're trying to pool all our resources and blah, blah, blah. So we were all for it. Fast forward to 2006, the NEA had found out about Field and Forrest and started doing things. My wife Liza and I's first time there in '06, we went there with our club, started seeing some of the trails they had just started doing, and we're like, this is the best thing ever. I can camp, I can off-road. We don't have to leave property, but we can if we want because there's off-roading around. And where do I sign up to help you build the trails? And like, how can I help? And I made friends with Gretchen, always told her she could adopt me and I'll live in a house out front. we started going all the time. What was it, 2011, she asked us? Yeah, so like 2010, she offered the NEA a chance to lease the property. 10 years.
Wow.
I feel like the number was like $10,000 a year, something like that.
That's not bad.
It wasn't really bad, and we actually tried to push the NEA to go that way, but one of the NEA's problems is too many chiefs, not enough Indians, because every club gets 2 delegates, and so it can bog it down. Well, they bogged down, and she got frustrated. She's like, you're taking too long. I really want to do this. And in the meantime, a few people caught wind of her trying to lease it. Well, they heard through their clubs. Well, they went to her directly and offered to buy the place from her, thinking that she was going to sell it wicked cheap. And she didn't, because mostly she didn't want it. She was afraid of what was going to happen to the property. She made this relationship with the NEA, and she liked the way the NEA was using the property and treating her and treating the place. So she's like, were you guys serious when you said you really liked the place and were interested in it? I'm like, huh? Really? You're offering to sell it to us? Owner financed? I
Well,
do. Do we do this? Oh my God.
Simmer down, Bob.
Put it over the winter. And in the spring, we were like, you know what? We can do it. If at worst, it'll be our retirement place and we'll get rid of the place that's down in Massachusetts and we'll just make a life change, a life shift. So we went for it. But we were already so immersed in the off-road community that, I mean, I met my wife in the off-road community. She was a customer of mine at Ocean State Off-Road. We ran Bay State Off-Road together for 4 years.
okay.
So we were already all in
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
life. Yeah, Liza just said she was on the NEA board then. So,
Wow.
what's the worst that can happen?
You bought an off-road park.
No, they bought a campground.
What a campground. So we bought a campground. This place was run down. Like, I mean, still is run down, but it was held together with bale and wire and duct tape. A lot of it. And the more bale and wire and duct tape you use, the more complex that wrapping procedure becomes. It's the complex wrap at times. But here we are. Our one claim to fame, I think, is the severity of the trails. And I can even
Definitely.
take credit for that. I mean, a lot of that was there was this golden time, and it was also a dark time because so they would have these big trail cuts, NEA wide trail cuts, and people could come in groups and basically go off and do almost whatever they wanted. So that's when if you ever running through the property and you see these weird little chutes that don't really go anywhere, that was then. But then Scott Dollard started coming all the time. I think he was a volunteer in the NEA, and he was big in his club, Deep Woods Extreme, and they would come and actually have a vision. Like he would have a vision for trails. So his vision was Elm Street, and his vision was Easy Street, and like those are complete beginning to end nightmare trails. And his sucker punch, that's all him. That was his idea,
That's awesome.
right?
Um,
So a few were mine. I mean, I did Dick in the Dirt. I did Nelson's Crawl. I did Summit Street, Buzzkill. A few of them, but the place was pretty well established when all we did is add and improve and tie things together, try and make it a little more defined, organized. Had sort of a mission.
so was Scott? I think I met him one day at Ma Bell. I might have the wrong guy because there's a lot of Scotts out there, but blue CJ on like 35s with a 4-link in the rear and yellow rims. And he said he was involved with the cutting of some of that stuff and had plenty of pictures of that rig on its side there.
No, different Scott. Scott Dollard. When he was involved here, he always had a buggy. He had Mike Demers' buggy that he has now. That used to be Scott Dollard's, and when Scott Dollard had built Toyota axles, a Chevy 4.3. So yeah, that's why he was cutting buggy trails, because he was in buggy mode by the time he got exposed to this place, and so when they had a chance to basically design and cut whatever trails that they wanted, he was all over it.
And
He was-
got plenty of opportunity for just crazy lines. The rocks there are insane. I don't think I've ever seen like that much just variation of rock configurations, I guess is the best way to put it. Like there's some properties they've got clusters, right, but there's nothing special. I feel like your spot, it just has everything. You can do the drop over. I don't know all the trail names. I haven't gone enough. I only started getting hooked. Was it? Might have been a year and a half ago. Because before then, as a club, we never really had all the different requirements, so it was hard to get a group to go there. But a few of us have started just, you know, in talking with Chris Ayashua and all those guys. It's
Timmy.
they've started dragging us down, and it's been
Yeah,
awesome.
Timmy Clark has been a club to batter our club into going.
Mm-hmm.
Those are good dudes.
Yeah,
Those are
they
real.
Oh
are.
yeah.
Liza
Now,
went last year to join that club, and so a lot of times as a property owner, you get a automatic, you get a buy, and she was like, I don't want a spot. I don't want to be a member as a property owner. I want to be a real member. I want to pay my dues. I want to fill all the requirements. Like if it's this many meetings and this many trail runs I've got to go to, I want to do that. Um, I just want to be part of a club that is active, and those guys are, oh my god,
So
they go
active.
out a lot.
They put
yeah.
every other club to shame in the NEA, I think.
They
Uh,
do.
They do when it comes to enthusiasm and club members that are not afraid to just like get out there and do stuff.
yep.
Yeah,
I would venture a guess that they are probably one of the most premier clubs out there. Um, Not trying to blow smoke up their ass, but I think that it's very well ran and that they are a group of people that are extremely committed to everything they do. It's fucking awesome to watch.
I agree with everything you just said. They're a quality club. They nothing but smiling faces. I don't have a bad thing to say about anybody in that club at all. Really don't. They're so generous. They volunteer all the time. They make things happen for sure in a positive way.
They really do. And I like one of the things that struck me when I was talking with Mike about them is the commitment that they have to making sure that your rig is up to the club standards.
Yeah,
And, it was just the rules that they have for it are so well put together and they alleviate the possibility of them really like having a ton of issues out there.
I
If
agree.
I think we've done a good job of commandeering that same idea though. Lately, we've been really we've been trying to get newer people, but in the past few years, every new person we've got has either not really been into it, not super committed, or just doesn't know a lot. But if we've transitioned our club rules, if you will, to now accommodate for that in the sense of like, bring a fucking spare tire, bring like, stuff like that where we'd be like, it's whatever. Somebody's got a 35 for you, or somebody's got a 37, where it's come into problems. And now we've gotten to a point that it's like, oh, blew a bead. Oh, nobody has starting fluid. All right, let's just go back, grab it, and put it back on and keep on wheeling instead of sitting there waiting for it to fill up and do all that kind of crap. So
Yeah, I mean
I
I was gonna say, you know, a similar vein as to that was, I know I don't think it's incredibly rigorous to get into Rockaholics, but I know they have certain, filters to sort of filter out people who aren't serious about being committed to the club, and I think it can be a fine balance. I mean, how many? They've got like 60 plus members at this point. I think I remember them saying
Yeah.
over last summer. It's a crazy amount, maybe even more. But
Sounds
you know, sometimes it is about quality over quantity, and it can be hard to build the quality members. But they've got, I think every member in that club is quality. From
oh yeah.
everybody I've met has been awesome. They've got an awesome rig. They're an awesome character. It's just good people all around, and we're
another
getting
part
there.
that
We
I
got
have to say that I enjoy about them is they're not one to like look down, if that makes sense. There were a couple of times where we would split runs with them to like say Brook Ridge or Battlegrounds, and even though you're not rocking up on stickies, they would be happy to spot you into a black or a red obstacle and help you get through it.
I
Uh,
remember Mike Craig. He was in the process of blowing both his front stubs on Charlotte because he was allowing him. He was like, "I want to go do the hard stuff," and we were the people around him were spotting him right into bad decisions. But he didn't even. Didn't even
The worst about that, and I will fight him over that.
How come you guys can't get Mike and Megan on?
Oh, fucking, you tell
Mike-
me. So
We've
I
tried.
think
Point we've all reached out to him.
so. I think Mike thinks he's socially awkward, even though he's fucking not. I think he's nervous he's gonna come on and just not be able to quote unquote perform, even though he'll have plenty to talk about. And when you get him going, he never shuts up. So it's like, why the fuck not, dude? Like,
Read on all counts. Yep, they would be so fun.
Yeah.
oh,
I need to
absolutely.
bully him about removing the manual from that Sammy.
The next time I see him, it's gonna be no mercy. It's gonna be I'll cry a little bit. Be like, your problem.
Yep.
Oh,
Oh,
go ahead,
sorry.
Luke. No, you're good. You're good.
So now that we kind of talked about the property, one thing that I wanted to bring up that's been really interesting for me to see is the transition that it's caused in New England's wheeling. There's kind of a subgenre, if you will, that we've been talking about a bit of the F&F buggy. And normally it's something along the lines of either tons or Toyota axles, 4-cylinder, skinny. I think that a fair assessment would be generally reds because that seems to be the predominant tire there. And just like 110 to 114 inch wheelbase with hydro.
Pretty spot on. And I noticed that whole. See, so yeah. Before I started doing humble pie, it was already going that way. Like that was the best way to come and enjoy all the property. Like if you wanted to do a couple or more red trails in a weekend, like you had to be pretty stout. You had to be on some sort of sticky tire, preferably red labels, and able to hang for the weekend. You really needed hydro steering. Although my Samurai still has a steering box and assist. It gets it done, but it's stout too. But yeah, and then I decided I got tired of guys with JKs rolling in and saying, "What do you mean your reds are that bad? I just came from Rouch Creek and I ran all the red trails there in a weekend." And I was like, the light off. I'm like, ding.
Quick thing.
Never heard a person say that I ran all your red trails this weekend and I'm bored now. What's next?
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I got to come up with a reason to force these people to do all the red trails in a weekend. So that was it. It was originally supposed to be a poker run, and then I threw him a curveball, and I kept Nelson's Crawl, Devil's Bunghole, and Devil's Taint as set aside as the bounty run. I'm like, all right, do all these first 5. Back then it was 5. There were 5 trails. Like, here, do these 5, and it'll qualify you for a chance to run a bounty run. And then that's just going to be simple, fast time, winner takes all, and the pot's $1,200. Here you go.
Wow. And by poker run, do you mean a traditional poker run where like every time you finish a trail, you get a card and then you have to try to make a hand at the end and then the winner gets the pot?
It was basically going to be that.
That's awesome.
It was going to be a reason to force them to run the red trails and then some sort of way to make somebody a winner, hand somebody a big, right? But then I was like, well, wait a minute. I've got the original bounty run. Scott Dollard, who caught half the 3/4 of the red trails here, was the first guy to actually run a bounty run. This is back when, what was the name of it? Neo. So when they first showed us pictures of the taint, everybody was like, oh, we need to make a bounty on this. It's got to be from the bottom to the top. This is before Nelson's Crawl. So it was Devil's Bunghole and Devil's Taint. No winch, no spotter. And here's a pot of money. They collected like $200 or $300 on Neo. And he somebody got him on video. He's the first guy to do it. So like, it's literally called the bounty run. Why don't we just like make that like the star of the show after they qualify? The qualifying is, I tell everybody during the drivers meeting, like, you can all qualify. There's enough time. I'm giving you 24 hours to run 6 trails. Like, you could sleep for the first 12 hours and go out at midnight and run the trails, and there won't be anybody in your way. So trust me, you can do that. It's how you gonna. Do you have anything left for the bounty run?
That's cool. That's actually really cool.
I was just saying, I love the whole format and the idea of the humble pie.
Yeah. It's
Appreciate it. I never imagined that it would turn into what it's turned into. It's
a pretty sought after event for sure.
I am blown away. There's guys building rigs just for it.
Mm-hmm.
Ricky built Lemon Drop just for humble pie, and he's not the only one to walk away from humble pie saying, "Wow, I got my tail between my legs. It's time to build something new," which is also funny because the first 2 years when Eugene won in Blueberry, that was the definition of feeding people humble pie. To get beat by that turd.
Yep.
I mean, he'll be the first one to tell you. Blueberry is a poor beat to crap POS. Low dollar, low budget, low tech. But Eugene can drive, and it's just basic and stout enough to hang tough and do what it's got to do.
That's another guy we got to talk to.
You know, I would love to see him on. Honestly, so you know what would be a good show would be he and I together. He's like my best buddy, and I think I might loosen him up. I don't know if you could talk him into coming on the show without. Then again, maybe not. He gave me a hard time today because he's going to work on his new buggy.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to divert like an hour out of his way to come here, and I'm like, dude, I'm doing a podcast. Oh, super radio personality now. Okay, I guess.
Some people don't understand. It's just not their thing, and it's I don't know.
It is what it is.
I didn't think it would be fun. We talked about this before. We sort of started it as just something to do, and
it was kind of originally like a tech dump. All the various stuff that because I had been building Jeeps for at that point like 9 years, on and off, and driving them and stuff. And Graham similar, Richie had been helping me along the way.
But I don't know. I'm particular, and I do. And that's my favorite part of the whole deal. So.
And then, well, why don't we sit down and talk about it? And here we are now at episode 76, talking to the owner of F&F.
That's pretty awesome. It was when you had Chris Welsh on. Sam McIntyre sent me a message with a link to the pod. He's like, dude, you should listen to this. They're talking about Reds and Treps and F&F. I'm like, oh, all the things that I want to talk about. So, then Chris is a wealth of knowledge for sure.
Yeah.
Like, he's a smart dude. He can come across the wrong way on the internet a little bit, but I can too. Once you get past that and you see how smart he is, I actually gave him an invite to Humble Pie last year, but it was too late. He needed time to try and make that happen.
Yeah.
But part of my invites too is when people get a little mouthy and they're all that on the internet and oh, I've never had to pull cable. I'm like, well, when you get off the girl trails, maybe you'll. Well, you want to come and show me what's up?
Yeah.
Speaking of that, though, Roush Creek, again, all of their trails have go-arounds on the trail, whatever they're specifically placed as. So even if it's a fucking red, there's a bluish black go-around. And I noticed that specifically because when we went and did, I forget the exact trail, but it's where the bees were, where Colin almost rolled it, and it was wicked muddy, whatever. There was a group of smaller rigs behind us, and we're looking at them like, oh shit, they're following us up this? But then I realized that they were just going straight around all of it. So anybody could say they run fucking Reds at Roush does not mean they actually run the Reds.
Yeah.
And that's like the perfect example of why humble pie is a thing, is because you think you're hot shit going around. Guess what? There's a tree 5 feet apart from one another. Go stick your tires through it, otherwise you ain't making it. Like, that's sick.
Right.
Probably told this story about 35 freaking times now, but part of the reason that my Jeep was down for so long or as long as it was, is Graham, myself, and who was it? It was Tyler and the other guy that was driving in the CJ. Their name escapes me. The owner of that red CJ on 43s that we were with. Well,
shoot, Jamie. Jesse?
Jamie, that's
Jamie.
it. Jamie. So we went up to Crawler Ridge, and there was a group of JKs that were kind of like messing around on there, and that's like a black/red obstacle there. And they were not giving it a good try. Like, they would go put tires on it, and then they would go up to the side and go around. And I'm like, no, I've got an XJ on tons and 40s. I'm gonna go for it. And it didn't want it, and it wasn't gonna go, but that did not stop me from hitting rev limiter on it and blowing the leaf springs through the floorboards.
I forgot that's the trail you destroyed those things on. I mean, both of us destroyed everything. I sliced a tire, or I popped one, or debeated it, and the rim was all messed up, and you sliced it good. Or maybe it was the opposite. I sliced it on a flat rock. I
debeated a tire and destroyed the rim, and I blew the 3-link upper mount. Like, I destroyed the support for that, so it was just flopping around. I broke the bolt in the top of the 3-link.
I'm pissed we didn't get back to that last year. That's a fun obstacle. Even to just get up to that spot and just hammer on it and see what happens. I'd love to give it another shot with more gearing.
Roush Creek is a cool park. Don't get me wrong. I've been there a few times. But I also got spoiled by Paragon. I got to go to Paragon for a few times, which was legit. That place was legit. It's a shame that...
The legends, but before our time.
It's funny, we just got a message literally like yesterday asking about Paragon because Chris Ayasho had brought it up. So we were talking to the guy about that.
He did, in fact, he thinks that, what did he say, Famous Redding was...
Yeah, that sounds right.
That, I don't know. It's a shame that it's not a legit off-road park anymore, because it beat Roush Creek by leaps and bounds. And coming from New England, it was closer by an hour.
Is this where we say rip Harris Mountain as well? Or
Harris Mountain was... It had a couple good trails, but...
It was cool.
I heard Mountain, and it's unfortunate that he, managed it the way he did, and he is where he is in life. And Liza and I actually reach out to him a few times to, help him figure out how to do it right and how to make money at it, how to do it legit, what to avoid, and he just saw us as the enemy. Like, dude.
I remember distinctly hearing about that at 8:45 in the morning while we had eggs on fire.
I wonder why the eggs are on fire. Couldn't be me.
No, it's such a weird way to put that, Luke.
No, he's being serious. I literally had the pan on fire because my dumbass forgot that bacon grease is really fucking flammable, and all of a sudden, everything was up in flames, and I'm like, whoa! And I then grabbed the cast iron pan with my bare ass hand, burnt the shit out of my hand. It was a great time.
Because you grabbed it like 3 times.
That was an actual thing. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the owner came wandering out to talk and complain at us.
Yeah.
Trouble for almost lighting his fire?
No, he didn't care about that.
Didn't care about that at all. Talking about how certain people had issues with management.
We also did go pretty much one of the last legal weekends. Like, it was we went the last, like, the Rockaholics were going there. I think we either planned it or got invited, whatever it may have been. and it was probably like one of the third weekends before it got shut down by the police. And
That was a really good weekend. We
oh
wheeled
yeah,
Brookridge right after the first expansion on the property had been cut, and then we went over there and camped for the weekend, and we got to watch everyone run the Reds, and we ran the Blacks.
so speaking on
And it was
Brookridge
dry
really
as
quick,
hell. That's
it
the other
was.
thing. We made it up
Right.
stuff that we've never done before because there was just no water, right?
Now, speaking on Brookridge, though, Brookridge is turning into a pretty cool property.
Brokerage
We
is
used
getting
to write
gnarly.
off.
If it's
We
not a
used to write.
swamp, it'd be doable for people who don't have sticky tires. Obviously,
Oh
when
yeah.
you win Mike's buggy with the stickies on it, and it can just it can do everything there, no problem. And JB's sitting there like dumbfounded. We had the thing basically 90 degrees, fully off to the left side there, and he was like, "We should be rolling right now." I was like, "Yeah, we should. You should probably keep moving so we don't, because nobody's gonna be able to get a winch up here." The thing's just so stable. He's having a blast with that already. Just 1 week, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm probably gonna sell the XJ because this thing's awesome." I was like, "I
Well,
would."
let's save that for an episode where he could talk about it himself because I think he would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
excited to come on and chat about
Well,
that.
let's
But I
give
just
him a few
wanted
more
to,
runs, and I do want to talk to him about that thing, and I think that'd
yeah.
be cool. It'd be cool if we could talk to Mike about the buggy, because he sort of had
Right.
he kind of had the thing built and
Well, aren't we
built it,
having
and
Keith on?
we should have Keith on at some point.
Never
Listen,
He's
mind.
listen,
down.
listen. We
I
got a
don't know.
lot of people lined up right now. They're starting to swim in my head. I have the big ones in chronological order, and then I've got a bunch of other people that I'm working on fitting into the schedule because I've got cool rigs and I want to talk with them.
hmm
But like,
To clarify, though, if we have Keith on, we've had Bob on, we've had Chris, we've had Timmy, we've had oh my God, I forget his name. He's been gone so long in Florida. Rob. We've had Rob on, like all of his friends. I mean, I think at this point we just get Megan on, and then he's forced to come on. But
Chris did some good podcasts. He was fun to listen to.
Chris
He-
is always a blast to have on.
He's articulate.
Yeah.
He tells good stories.
He really does.
very much so. That is for sure. Now, I got a question that I ask in every episode, and this one's pretty special because you're the man, the myth, the legend of a beautiful property who gets to see a lot of cool rigs come through. What is, and I'm gonna word it differently so Graham doesn't yell at me. What's the worst tire that comes onto your property, and what's the best tire? And try to keep it to DOTs, but because I'm guessing the stickies are gonna win. But what's the best sticky?
Well, no,
as well?
there's variation in stickies too, though. What's the best stick? Do both, I guess.
Yeah.
They're also higher conversation. So, in my opinion, the worst tire to wheel here is a cut swamper or a cut bogger.
Really?
A bias ply. Oh, they're just too hard. Especially a TSL. What's the LTB? LTBs. They're made out of rock.
Can't confirm.
So anything like that would be the worst. The best, what DOT? Gosh, any of the better brands they're all neck and neck. They're all still only DOTs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ouch,
Un-
but
So we have a super niche, and you guys have been here, so you know. I'm not
Yeah.
giving any revelations, but obviously it's a pretty niche property where if you don't show up with some sort of competition tire, half the property is almost off the board. It's almost stupid to try and pull into a red trail during a normal weather season. So 2020 was a 20-year drought season, and that was the exception to the rule. Everything was hero traction all season long. Like Paul Barnes ran the entire place multiple times that season on super swampers, just bias ply 42-inch TSLs. But he can drive. He knows the property, and there was that much traction. But in a normal season, you have no chance of driving a red trail end to end on DOT tires. You can't do it.
Wow.
We have 8 of them.
Yeah.
That's almost the entire count of all the other trails combined.
Yeah.
That's a dose of humble pie right there.
So how big is Field and Forest, Bob?
125 total, 125 acres in its entirety. So 15 of those acres are the campground. For the longest time, we only had 75 acres of trails. I recently opened up the 25 acres on the north end. Finally decided enough's enough. It's time to cut a trail here. That's Dick in the Dirt. It's a new trail. Still pretty fresh. And it also has the hardest obstacles on the property at the beginning, which it took somebody else. I saw these lines and everybody was like, you're crazy. Nobody's ever going to go up that. And Hans Shearer, I don't know if you guys know him. He's the mastermind behind X Rock, rock crawling competition in the Northeast.
Okay.
Is
He's
it
usually
sort of like We Rock?
It's not We Rock, but I think he's familiar with those guys.
Okay.
His is called. So, anyways, he has this event called Put Up or Shut Up. It's sort of like an invitational. Hey, here's a chance to just get in each other's faces and run the most extreme stuff that I can make you do. It's not your typical rock crawling comp. So he decided to consider coming here. So we walked the property and he pointed out some stuff. I'm like, dude, I thought I saw that line too. Thank you. I agree. So I cut 4 obstacles at the beginning of Dick in the Dirt, which is where he's going to do his Put Up or Shut Up in August, that are just full retard.
I just looked up X Rock, extreme rock crawling, on Facebook, and yeah, that whole property caters to them, and I can imagine them cutting some nasty trails just based on the cover alone here.
Yep, he's going to cut some stuff probably to suit his needs better. I cut most of what we talked about when we were here. I'm starting to get guys to put tires on them. But he's probably going to cut some more. He's going to make them drop off ledges that are like the size of a house. Oh. He would actually be a good guy to get on the podcast, probably. He can talk, and he's articulate. He's a super nice guy. I like him a lot.
And his name is?
Hans Shearer.
All right, I'll ask you later. I wouldn't even know how to begin to spell that. Hans Shearer. I'm like, nope. I started. I'm like Herer, something like that.
The only thing I have to remind you is we're Cherokee guys, so we can't spell, and it's amazing that we can even hold a welder straight.
There's a reason why I never turn off the auto predict for my iPhone.
Jeez.
I don't think I have typed an entire word in like 5 years.
Oh,
you're terrible. With the guys that have kind of came through the park and been there a lot, I know quite a few of them that have kind of been posting a lot of pictures and videos there, but are there any like really influential people in your mind for excellent driving? I know, like, let's see, Caleb Spillane's been up there, and he's always kind of impressed me with the ability to get that black XJ through everything. Great dude. Harry Hendricks was one of the guys that I started wheeling with when I first got into it. Awesome dude. And then Kevin Powell was the guy that was pushing me on my 1-ton swap towards getting it built to F&F specs to get up there, along with Tyler. But Tyler moved away, and sadly, Kevin
passed. Yep. All good dudes. Some of the guys that stand out in my mind, Eugene Whitford, Paul Barnes, Brendan Kavanaugh, Mikey Gawley, Scott Dollard, like just all guys who just they know how to drive. They know so when you get a guy who knows how to drive, put him in a rig that at least won't hold him back, and then put him in this place that they know like the back of their hand, and just stand back and watch a great show because they put it on. But I was also going to mention Harry and Hannah together. Oh my God, I love watching those two.
Yeah, they were insane.
Quality people.
Yeah,
real quality.
Harry's Jeep was the first large XJ I ever saw.
I was going to say, Harry was like the first like bugified XJ that I personally ever saw.
Right?
Like,
and all the way to the end, and when he finally got a completion time at Humble Pie. Full-bodied, doors still on. Like, he didn't even take the doors off.
Yeah.
Right? That thing still got 4 doors.
Is that thing even still around? I haven't talked to him in ages. But
I don't think that he will ever get rid of that thing. It means too much to him. As far as I know, he still has it. Dude, when he got a finishing time in 2020, he was in tears. I was in tears. When I'm standing there at the end and I blow the horn, I'm so emotionally involved with everybody up to that point that whatever they feel at the end, I can't help. I'm right there. Taylor Catrini cried when she actually got a finishing time. I'm bawling with her. I'm like, are you kidding? No, kid. Michael there screaming and jumping up and down because his daughter got across the finish line. Seeing Brendan Kavanaugh in 2020 do it in 13 minutes. And he's like, holy crap, that was cool. I'm like right there with him, like, dude, that was the best thing I ever saw.
That's wild. Some of those trails don't look like they could be done in 13 minutes, and that's based off of pictures.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's one of the things is like it's pretty standard that pictures don't ever do trails justice, but Field and Forrest definitely gives that set a run for its money.
Yeah, every once in a while you run across some pictures that really do show you how big the rocks are, and it's like, oh damn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get when we bought the Samurai, I have no plans to go run red trails with it. Like, I just need something that will reliably get me down to black trails, get me out there to the property so that I can put signs up. I have 2 events that I put signs up for now. Have you guys heard of Civil War? We were talking about tires a few minutes ago.
No.
Yes, I have.
I've caught wind of it.
So Civil War is the tire war. It started off with running mouths on Facebook groups, as it always does. And I don't know if you guys have heard, we hate Treps up here. Crap on
Speak for yourself. I love mine, or loved them. I don't have them anymore.
Honestly, it's the joke now.
Yeah.
Because we know people also is like, Treps suck.
Yep.
But so here we actually see a difference. You go on a red trail and you try and make your rig stick sideways going uphill, and it's all covered in slime. Like, the red labels actually like will stick. When it gets, the gooier it gets here, compared to everything else, they lose the least amount of traction compared to what everything else loses. Everything else drops off quickly, and we just see that red labels don't. So it turned into a pissing match, and there was this one guy who was, there's no way that you're going to go up an obstacle that I can't do on my buggy on Trep tires. So we're like, well, come on up and prove it. This isn't the South, bruh. Where everything is clay and everything's a hill kill, and you just drop the hammer. And if you can't make it, you just back around and take the go around because you don't feel like pulling cable. Like, you got to pull cable here too because it's no way around it.
Yep.
That was
We came up with this idea of North versus South, but it was really a tire war. And so I figured out a way to like score key points. It's basically a scavenger hunt through the woods, through the trails, and when you come on a sign that'll at an obstacle, it'll give a certain point value. If you make it without pulling cable, you keep track of those points, and at the end of the day, just tell me how many points you got. It's on our system because nobody's winning anything. It's just bragging rights, but we average all the tires out, and that's that.
That's pretty cool. I would love to come and watch that event. That's fucking cool. Sorry, I don't know if I was loud enough or not, but
Yeah, I
that
heard
sounds
you.
dope. That's cool.
Guys, this humble pie, like, I mean, at like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, I'm just gonna blow the horn and be like, okay, trails are open. Come back for 5 o'clock for dinner, and while you guys are eating dinner, I'll come around all the tables and ask you, what you ended up with for points, and we're gonna see if I can talk a few people into swapping tires on Sunday if they've got the same bolt pattern to like see if it's the rig. Is it the rig? Is it the driver? Is it the tire? And
I love that.
yeah, just sort of put your tires where your mouth is, sort of deal. I just came up with a way to put your tires where your mouth is, and good naturedly like rib each other. Worked out. It was working out good too because for a while our friend Devin Noyce, who owns the Jungle, or his family owns the Jungle, he was living down south, so he would drag some of his southern buddies up to do that. He would actually probably be a good interview also. He's a pretty funny dude.
Yeah. I think I was invited to the Jungle once, but I don't think I had my shit together. I still had something to do on my shit, or something was going on, and I couldn't do it. But I heard that property is pretty cool.
I heard it is too. Can you believe I've never been? And I'm really good friends with Devin and all those guys up in Vermont. I've never been because, well, all this time we haven't had a rig, and being married to this place, I can't go until the season, either right before the season or right after the season.
Mm-hmm.
So here I am.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're kind of locked down to it. Like you can't just go out one weekend to a different property. How often do you have that place booked up? Is it like most weekends?
So
Every weekend over the summer?
May 14th is our first weekend open, and the third weekend in October is our last weekend open, and they've been sold out for a month and a half, 2 months.
Wow.
Wow.
Holy crap.
Every single weekend. I feel like I should turn the light on or something.
Oh, it's all right. So outside of your property, though, what other property is your favorite too? If you were to go to one because you had the free weekend and you wanted to wheel somewhere else, where would you go?
I would try to go to the Jungle or Crazy Eights. I've heard good things about Badlands. I would probably try and go there. You know what I really miss? I really miss Old Florida Road. I haven't run that in forever.
I have yet to run Old Florida Road.
Even still open?
Yes, I mean it's a class 3 or class 4 road, so like it's still open. I know that.
I haven't locked them yet.
Yeah, I know that there's a certain extent you can go to now. I think before you could go to the quote unquote top, but now there's like after power lines or a pipeline or something, you're supposed to stop. I believe is something that I heard. through the
there's
grapevine.
Are you
what
thinking
was
of
that, Richie?
I said okay because the last I heard of it, we're putting a gate up, so I meant that it was closed.
the state put gates up. They didn't lock them yet.
Gotcha.
But they put them up so that they already have the opportunity to lock it if they want. I didn't hear anything about only being able to go part way. I thought that was Ma Bell, which
Yeah, the backside of Ma Bell is off limits.
right? You can only go to the top of committed, which I
Yep.
rolled my first Cherokee on committed, almost three full barrel off that.
Oh, oh God, that is
Three
not a
full
fun
barrel
hill.
rolls?
2 3/4.
Okay.
I
Jesus.
I believe that
That's not a fun one to go rolling backwards on. Fuck that.
That was a
at least have a cage.
that was a Dana 35. I was standing on the throttle, bouncing up. The second bounce, the center section broke free of the tubes, rolled, pulled the rear drive shaft out. And then I was like, looked at my
Ugh.
passenger, oh shit, we're going. It's going down.
Wow.
And clank, clank, clank.
Wow.
Just peeled in it, and it was still in one piece.
That's
Nope.
insane.
No doors, no cage. The only thing I had going on was a completely overbuilt roof rack that I through bolted through the roof tin to the subframe. I had the headliner out and
hmm
spacers to like tie it into the subframe. I mean, the
Yeah, the
upright.
little bars on the
Exactly.
roof. Yep.
Um, and all the side ones too. So you know how we pull the headliner out and you can see all the inside framing, and then it's just the tin of the roof.
hmm
So I tied into those, and it took it pretty well actually. I can't really complain, but that one was done. It was like
Yeah.
cut it up. Buy another Cherokee, $300, and swap the parts over.
Yeah.
So I did. What a briarwood.
Yeah. Those are
I
like I like
it's
the
because it was so odd with the wood on the side. It was green. The whole
yeah
deal. Yeah,
the
it was
the
good. Not everybody liked it, but I enjoyed it.
yeah.
I got a kick out.
I don't know. The wood paneled Cherokees just for me have always kind of been like I don't know. I've my dad's always had a Grand Wagoneer with the wood paneling on the side. It's an 89. It's not like an early one, but like it's that car looks good with the wood paneling. The Cherokees just especially the Briarwoods, the older ones with like the 10 slot grill. Oh, I guess maybe the Briarwoods did. I don't know what the year cutoffs were, but like
Briarwoods had a weird grill on them.
I thought the Wagoneers had that four headlight bug eye look.
The Wagoneers did, but the
Yeah.
Briarwoods had a different grill insert with Cherokee headlights.
Huh.
At
Yeah.
least that's what Doug's had. A buddy of mine from Connecticut had one of those, and he said that it was factory. I don't know. I'm not that smart, but he was a buddy of mine from Naxtra. Good guy.
I miss the Naxia days. I miss when North Atlantic chapter would come here for Rocktoberfest. Back when Colin Pellegrino and all those guys were hot and heavy into North Atlantic chapter.
Mm.
The backer,
So,
which
am I? Oh, sorry.
no, it's all good.
Uh,
I was
am I? Yep. Am I wrong with thinking that Chris Ioshawa bought his buggy from you, or?
yeah, it wasn't me.
Different guy.
Oh, okay. Did that guy own a property too? I thought there was some.
Yeah, Dave has a property.
Okay, I was thinking it because I know that he had cut boggers at one point, and I know that you mentioned that cut boggers suck ass up at F and F. So I was right as you said that, I'm like, so Chris did suck back then. All right, cool. Thinking maybe you were calling him out, but never mind.
It didn't, and he'd be the first one to tell you, like, yeah, these when it was dry, you feel like a hero because I mean anything sticks when
Mhm.
it's dry. So he'd be like, "Oh, this is great, great," and I love the size because they roll over everything. And then as soon as it rained, he'd,
Can't wait to buy a set of 43 SXs.
right,
I don't know.
right.
After seeing those KR3s work in the wet this past weekend, they kind of got me hot on the idea of KR3s. I know that they're not great when they're wet, but I don't know. After seeing those SXs, unless those SXs on Miguel's
Miguel's
buggy are
weren't
just
really
worn,
putting on a show, right?
yeah,
Compared to JB's, they were doing nothing.
Charlotte, if you want, I can give it a name. But I don't know. we'll quickly touch on that because I want to just talk about that. I do love now that JB has Charlotte, because Charlotte is the name of the JK, right? Or was when it was Mike's.
Yes.
Okay. So I love that Miguel now is not necessarily forced to go that extra step, but he's never had to take that extra step because in our club, he was the most capable-ish
I mean,
rig.
on paper,
Paper, yes.
when he gets a flat tire on the blue trail and has to fill up every run, and I don't know, there's a couple things about that buggy that he still needs to tweak. It has
Yes.
potential to be really awesome, but I don't think it's quite there yet.
Another thing, and this is not a dig at Miguel. Miguel does really well, and you can get that buggy to do really stupid things, but you have to get up in front of him and be absolutely confident when you spot him.
Yes.
If you say it with total confidence, he will happily put it on its side. If you
And-
tell him that you gotta warm it up, he will warm it up, but
So he's changed a little bit now that JB has the buggy. So they kind of go head at like neck or head and head, neck to neck or whatever. Because if Miguel does something or can't do something, then JB has to go and try it to either one up Miguel. So it's a really cool dynamic because Miguel's never had to one up somebody before. The only other person would be Colin, but Colin's just going to make it up something with like sheer determination and brute force. Where Miguel's always had the extra flex in the tire to do it gracefully, I guess you could say. So it was a really cool dynamic to see this past weekend, even though it was Brookridge, there wasn't many reds or there wasn't many blacks either that they were running because we had to chug along 3 open vehicles. Two of which don't want to get body damage, which is just the cutest thing to me.
What are you talking about? You don't want body damage.
Because they're
Or
open.
I know.
Out of blue. And I'm just like, well, you got to bump it a little. Oh, but I don't want to mess up my rocker panels. And I'm like, what the fuck's a rocker panel, dude? Just fuck it. Like, or not to call out Buckley, but Buckley was like, I think I'm going to get sliders before I dent my rocker panel. And I looked at him, I'm like, you really do suck dick with your butt, huh? Because who the fuck cares? Like, it's a Cherokee. Oh, sorry.
They get stronger the more you crumple them in, too.
I will
Oh yeah.
doing my sliders after fucking my rocker on the driver's side made it 10 times harder to do.
No, what are you talking about? You cut all of it out.
Get blackout drunk and beat it with a hammer until it fit.
Well, what happened, but the passenger side, I didn't have to beat anything. It just went ding right in.
That's
I don't know
funny.
about you. Mine took forever. That
Well,
took
you
me,
also
like-
did totally different style.
I know.
You went like a
Yours
half
are like
boat side.
nice and
I
don't
did-
belong on a Cherokee.
I'm going to be brutally honest. I did not care to make them that pretty, Graham.
Yeah, I don't know. I like having it look kind of finished. Bob, you were saying something about crumpled rockers, and I wanted to hear it.
Oh no, I was agreeing with you. You're right. You crumple them up, and they actually get pretty beefy.
Yeah, and then it kind of creates the contour that it wants for rocks. It'll just slide right off in the future, and it I don't know. I kind of like the look. I had before I did my 2x6, it was just this raisin on the side. It was starting to creep up the doors, and I ended up chopping the doors most of the way. But there's still like an inch or so. You can see some of the original doors that I still have on it. You can see dents in them from where I cut it and sort of masked it. So it looks pretty good now. But back then it was a mess. I've got one picture where like there's a rotted hole in the thing, and everything's just like beat in. It was yeah. And I did one side, went wheeling that weekend, and then did the other side the weekend after. So I had one rocker on one side for a while and nothing on the other side. It was
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
that was Badlands a couple years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, was I there for that Badlands?
Probably.
Oh my gosh. I wish I noticed. I would have made fun of you for it.
Yeah, nobody noticed it. Just
I distinctly remember, though, that I went and crushed in the driver's rocker at my place one weekend, and then went to, I want to say it was Battleground, like a week or two after, and I kept getting hooked and stuck on that fucking hole in my rocker from my place, that every single rock just went right there, and it would start pivoting the Jeep every fucking time.
I've yet to experience that. The only thing I will give the whole no body damage guys is when above your door gets damaged. That sucks. When your doors start not really closing right and then they start leaking. That's the only thing I'll give them is that kind of sucks
That's
ass.
just Cherokee life, dude.
My
That's why I
driver
keep a.
my
Oh, sorry,
driver
go ahead.
door doesn't close. Like it closes, but it doesn't close. I don't know what changed. I took the doors off one day and I went and put them back on and
Ram,
it lines up. It just doesn't close.
your body moved.
I know it did,
Or it's
but it's like
tweaked a little.
it looks fine. Everything still fits. It closes, it latches, it just doesn't you can't push it that whole way in. I don't know if the hinge is messed up or
So
what. It doesn't bug me though. Not
my
that much.
passenger door, I had to unbolt it and drop it down, so it's now like basically sitting on top of the slider to get it so it'll still latch, and you have to like gently slam it and then pull it back or it won't stay latched. It's great.
I just don't care. It closes and I can't like accidentally open it. So it's not gonna like
Man,
fly open on the highway, so it is what it is.
so you mentioned Bob that you had a few Cherokees. How many did you
Did.
have, and were any of them like? Would any of them survive FNF?
Last one that we had sort of survived for a little while. It was tons, 538s, mostly cage, blah, 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 Atlas, 3 link, 4 link. It mostly survived, but it started showing signs of where it wasn't plated and
Mm.
ripping things. The green, yeah, Eliza's reminded me. The green one we had was pretty cool. The one at that double. So we had a nice green driver. It was a nice trail rig, 35s, Dana 44 rear, 30 front, alloy everything, mock up, blah blah blah. The doubler kit, a polished turd. Liza called it. That was a fun all around driver. I had God, I must have had like a dozen between parts rigs and little drivers. I still have a driver now, a '98 amethyst purple one with on a set of 31s.
That's a cool color too. You don't see that one often. That purpley, right?
And I don't know what to do with it. It needs just enough work to go back on the road. And I don't feel like doing it. But it's
Mm.
like, I don't know what to do. Liza's like, do whatever you want with it. You want to sell it? Sell it. You want to build it? Build it. But I'd rather take 2 grand. I'd rather like sell it for 2 grand if I can and put it into her LJ rather than take 2 grand and put it into that one
Yeah.
and just a mild wheeler. But I love Cherokees, man. They're so utilitarian. Like, I mean, what's not to love about 100-inch wheelbase? I actually think that the leaf springs in the back and coils in front is a good combo out of the box because um, I don't know if you guys remember in the first years when people were building TJs, like one of the hot setups to do for a while was to get rid of their rear coil suspension and go leafs.
Really?
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
Hunter Perry, I think is the guy's name. He's friends with IB Jeepin, and he has a TJ with a stretch front, like a minor stretch and a 3 link up front, and then in the rear, he's got a Dana 44 with XJ leaf springs in it, and
yeah.
the thing's pretty cool.
So that's a formula that works in probably like 2/3 to 3/4 of your off-roading situations when you're climbing,
Mhm.
for example. A nice flexi front. The front tires get up and over, and then you can usually get the rear to get up and over with enough aggression.
Mhm.
But it makes it nice and stable, and the stable rear forces the front to work really well. I I'm a sucker for them myself. I just always thought they were great.
This is one thing I noticed with the 4 link. Now that the rear does something, the front feels like it's falling off, and I can't tell if it's because of the coilovers in the rear and the stretch in the rear, or if the front needs work.
Front probably needs work. I mean, you basically dialed your rear, and your front's like, I mean, it's like an amalgamation of stock and one-ton stuff, and there's just it can get messy.
I mean,
Or I could see where, like, I think it's just because you're so used to the Jeep being
yeah.
more advanced in the front, I guess you could say, because your rear really didn't do much back then. So now
No,
that
it
the
was
rear
a
does,
stable brick.
yeah, so now that your rear does more, I think you're just feeling that the front needs to like produce more than what it did. Like, yeah, it works great, but if you're not feeling as stable in the front as you are the rear compared to like whatever you're like however that was before, maybe you're just feeling that it's just needs that update because you are four link rear with coilovers and then a old style coil, pardon me, like a stock style coil with a 3 link and a track bar and a hydro assist with ball joints. Like, unless you switch that up within, but I don't know. But like, I think it just needs that update that the rear got pretty much.
Yeah, I agree.
I just don't really know what to do with it because it's like a really nice front 3 link, and I've got the numbers. I forget them off the top of my head today, which is kind of embarrassing, but everything kind of performs as it should.
Loose now that you have a 4 link in the rear. Part of that is because the rear is so flexy now. It's easier for it to unload and actually overcome the front. Before you had those leaf springs, it was a nice stable platform. So because the tire wants to drop off so much further now, so much easier, um, you might need to compensate with instead of redoing all the front, you might be better off just going like a rear sway bar.
I
Okay.
guess you're I guess you're right. That does make sense because sorry, uh, the rear like it would hold the weight better, where the front's allowed to just kind of keep traction to the ground with the spring, like the rear leafs actually holding the weight of the Cherokee, to where now the rear is also wanted to put the like to transition the weight differently. So I think you're right. Maybe a sway bar would be beneficial in keeping that not center line, but keeping it kind of
Well,
flat, I
guys
guess.
usually, I mean, if they're driving it on the road and people do a 4 link in the rear, you always hear about sway bars. I can see that having more benefits than just that, right?
Yeah.
Um,
But all but also anti-rocks are a thing. Like people run them out west even on just a strict wheeling rig. So there's got to be some benefit to that as well.
no, they are.
So,
Yeah, I think that actually can give you in some situations more traction, from what I understand,
hmm.
than if you
Yep,
didn't have one.
they do. That's no joke. They make for an overall more stable rig, which translates to better traction when it comes down to it. They do work.
Hmm.
Mm. I'm a big fan of them. Like I don't ever counsel whenever I built Jeeps for people. I never counseled them to lose their rear sway bar. TJ guys were, oh, take the rear sway bar and throw it away. I mean, you can get away with that on a Cherokee because it's running leaf springs and it's
Hmm.
already a pretty stable for me. You don't necessarily need that rear sway bar. On a TJ, oh my god, you need it so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Keep it on there.
I noticed that the one time we pulled, so my girlfriend has a TJ, and she was kind of annoyed because she wasn't getting flex, and I'm like, well, A, you have stock sway bars, let's just take the front, we'll take the front and rear off, and it was horrible. It felt just like a sloppy mess. Like I was playing in like I was sitting on top of Jello, and it was just like bleep, bleep, bleep. And then we put the rears back on, and it's fucking awesome now, and it almost feels, as you said, like a Cherokee. It's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, I,
Are
I concur with all that.
are those rear sway bars on the TJ? It's got to be a lighter spring rate. It can't be like a
Super
is
small sway bar,
yeah,
not very big at all,
yeah. So plenty
Yeah,
of
but it's
flex on that.
just enough to make a difference, though.
Yep.
yeah. I would say it's thicker than a stock Cherokee rear sway bar, though. Not the front. The front's obviously way bigger, but like the rear Cherokee stock sway bar is barely anything. It's like a coat hanger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Where at least like the TJ's maybe the diameter of a finger.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I'll give you sure.
but so is there any events other than the Civil War and Humble Pie, or is there a new club that's coming up that you're kind of excited for this year?
Well, I can think of one
So
event that's already
I
sold out.
I do not have my finger on the pulse of clubs the way Liza does. A couple events that I am excited for. Of course, season opener sold out within. I think we're at about a day now. It takes like a day to sell that out.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
crazy. You got to be like on top of it, on top of it if you want to get a ticket.
The 4th of July weekend, Summer Blast, that will sell out slower because it's a holiday weekend. That's always a little iffy.
Yeah.
One of my favorite events that happens here, besides Humble Pie, and so Humble Pie is patterned after this event, and it's the remote control weekend. The RC Rock Rollers, they come here for, they are literally the shout out to remote control East Coast, RCEC. They are the best people on the face of the planet. They're mostly based out of Vermont. Trevor Rushford is the guy behind it. He is just a 1/10 version of us, and he is so gung ho. They have like 16 events or 17 events that they do all weekend long. They gifted me with a rock bouncer last year, and they do rock bouncers under the lights Friday night.
That's super fun.
Or
It's like small, scaled down.
yeah,
That's super cool.
Whoa, fuck you, Graham. I mentioned RCs and you make fun
Yours
of me.
is
All right? I
stupid.
don't want to fucking hear. Okay,
They're rock bouncing. You're not doing that.
Good.
they do mega trucks, they do rock crawling, they do rock bouncing, they do scale rock crawling, and then they do full retard rock crawling. It's basically Humble Pie.
That's cool.
I came up with Humble Pie because Trevor inspired me to be like, I'm gonna make the most fucked up event and things to go through, and you guys are gonna come out of the woods miserable. And that's the event he does, and so that's what I did. I'm like, dude, you guys, yeah. Had to begin during my driver's meeting for Humble Pie. I say all the regular trail rules apply. Basically, if it'll help you, you can't do it. If it's off of a trail, they can't come back in on the bailout. They have to start the trail from scratch. They can't go up Green 6, which is a one-way between Everything Sucks and the corner. It's downhill only. I tell them, no, you're not allowed to go up that just for this weekend. Sorry, go the long way. All of it. And he's like that. Trevor's like that. He's like, oh yeah, no. Hand the guard, mark that shit. If they want perfect scores, they can't do anything. Like when they roll over, their buddy needs to pull them over, or they need a winch, or whatever. It's so fun. Those guys are so fun.
Yeah.
So like, do you have your own separate like RC course up there, or
The rock bouncer hills are separate. They're there all the time just because they groom them a certain way, and they just try and keep these lines. So I keep them. I actually made little signs for them, and I marked them. But no, they go out and wheel the trail, all the trail.
fuck?
Yeah, that's cool.
They put out 1,000 gates. I don't know.
Wow.
Wow, that's
No,
a lot
you
of
got-
gates.
That. So yeah, they lay out 1,000 gates for these guys to go through, shred the ledge. They open the course for 24 hours, and some guys take literally 24 hours to run all of it. It's all personal. It's all personal goal oriented. Like some guys are like, yeah, whatever. I'll pick my rig up, hand to God. Yeah, whatever. Here, Trevor. Here's my scorecard. 1,000.
Hand of
How many
God.
gods? Some people write all of them. Like, I don't care. I'm just here for the fun. And here,
Yeah.
take my money. Thank you for laying out this course and making me go expose myself to this property in this way through your eyes. And it's just an adventure.
That's cool. That's
Crazy.
really
And we've been doing a couple motorcycle rallies too, which has turned into something that sells out in a couple hours. We capped that at 120, and At least the summer one. The summer one will sell out in probably an hour and a half for
Now,
120.
I'm surprised that the J Day races haven't contacted you. It seems like your property would kind of fit their niche as well.
I have a story for that. I
Oh boy.
actually contacted J Day
Hmm.
as soon as we bought the place and had him come out. And we're not big enough, and we're not easy enough. We don't have enough parking, and the terrain is too rugged. But we were a perfect fit for Graham Jarvis, the greatest of all time.
Really?
#1 extreme enduro rider,
Yeah.
like 6
Yeah,
years in a row. Yeah,
Erzberg and all that. Yeah. Or Ernsberg, or I don't know how to pronounce that. Fuck, I couldn't even try.
yeah. So he was here for a 2-day clinic, and oh my god, the things that he did! He did a nose wheelie coming down a sucker punch climb.
What?
I have it on video somewhere. It was the coolest thing. I was like, oh my god.
So they have no idea who he is. They don't know about the land to sea races out in Austria. They have no fucking idea the amount of like bike control that this guy has. That's fucking. You know of him? I didn't know that, Richie. I didn't know how much you knew into that, but I assumed these guys didn't. That's really fucking cool. I had no idea that he came out that way. And wow.
Some local guy had gone out for a clinic with him the year before out to Colorado, and they got his number, and they're like, hey, you want to come to New England? And they talked him into it, and my friend Kevin Sweeney, super local guy, he was like, it's got to happen to Field and Forest. It's just like, that's the place. It's he can host it. They got fields. We can do field exercises, and then the terrain out back. Then we never have to leave property.
Yeah.
So I was came and checked it out, and I was like, I'm all down with it. Like, we'll rent the place to anybody. It's just good luck getting a date from us, because we have so many dates a year that we automatically give the NEA like between 6 and 8 dates a year, and that's where we don't require the clubs to pay to step up for the minimum charge. So if you want the place for yourself for the weekend, we have a minimum charge. We're like, well, it's gotta be worth like $2,000 for the weekend anyway. So that's like 50 people for 2 nights in a row. So Friday and Saturday night at $20 per person per night, it's $2,000 for 50 people. More than that, and we get more money. But we're like, well, if you want it for yourself, it should be worth at least this much. So
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So we're basically on the open market every year, but it's mostly word of mouth, and you have to be honest. We start booking in the middle of this. People are already. So we have the same dates that recur every single year. Our season opener, Liza was just telling me we have at least 15 dates that are recurring every year.
Jeez.
So we just want to know that we're going to give to these people again the following year if they want it.
Mm-hmm.
And in a business standpoint, that's fucking awesome, because at least like you can plan out and then fill in between with the fluff, and it fucking works out great for you guys. I'm sure that's awesome.
We're actually frustrated because we want to do more stuff, and Liza's like, when do you think we're going to fit it in? Like, I want to do, I can't because I don't have a date.
Yeah.
I wanted to fit in another motorcycle clinic, Meg Griffith. I can't. I couldn't fit her in. I could have fit her in during one of the motorcycle rallies, and she couldn't make those dates work. So I'm like, oh, she's going to someplace in Wolfboro this summer, which is cool. I'm glad she's coming to New England. I'm bummed that we couldn't fit her in, but there's plenty of stuff that we'd love to branch out and do when we run out of dates.
Yep.
I understand. Well, yeah, there's only 52 weeks in a year, you know? So that's
Open for 29 of them.
Wow.
I just turned the water. I turned the water on. I always turn it on for the last weekend in April. I usually throw a birthday bash for myself. That's the one hooligan weekend. I shouldn't. Liza's going to start shaking her head. No, don't talk about Fight Club on the podcast.
Fight Club.
Fight Club. It's we have a foolish mower race, and
Awesome. I love that.
And
Yeah, King of the Trimmers, right?
no,
that's-
so that's Josh Mazarol does that. Although we are adding that this year because some of the guys didn't get to run, so we're just throwing it out there as a bonus. But no, ours is the 6-pack race. We call it Stumble Pie.
That's fucking great.
It's a beer per lap. The first one to finish their 6-pack wins.
And if you puke, are you disqualified, or is that just part of the fun?
Yes,
Okay.
I don't really disqualify them, but yeah, I'm not gonna let you. If you barfed, I'm gonna make you feel so bad about it.
Yeah,
that you're not
even if you win, you're not actually winning.
Well, I mean, if you shotgun 6 beers, there's a high likelihood of losing one of them along the way.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Some people can drink better than others.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a lightweight, so if I were to shotgun 6 beers, I would probably just from the carbonation end up puking. But
So 2020 Cody agrees with you. 2018 Cody would be like 6. That's it. Come on, dude. We'll do an 18-pack of like Bud Light Platinums in between it all. Like
Oh god.
that. There is 2 different Codys with that one.
if we're talking about drinking it over the lap and depending on the length of the lap, perfectly fine. If we're talking about like slamming something in the side and shotgunning it, might be different.
So I make them start with the mowers off. I blow the horn. Everybody has to down their first beer, get on their mowers, start their mowers, and every lap that they come around, they have to get off their mower, go over to the table, acquire one of their beers, and chug it or sip it slow, whatever they feel like doing. I don't care.
That's great.
Yeah, and
That's awesome.
This- not a lot of rules, but there's also no prizes or anything. It's literally just a fun.
Yeah.
It's not
drinking
even
game.
a free 6-pack at the end.
They just had their
What?
6-pack.
They need to bring their own 6-pack.
Oh man.
Or-
Somebody goes with like alcoholic beer and cheats it all.
I had people asking me, so can it be iced tea? I'm like, come on, man, it's gotta be carbonated.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
that's probably
great.
probably Rob.
Gonna-
If I had to guess.
Definitely
Damn it,
Rob.
Rob.
Yep.
Twisted teas.
Oh, drunk
when he
Rob
drank.
was fun. I miss drunk Rob. Anyways, listen.
We got talking about this because I was saying, weather.
hmm
I can only turn the water on so early, and I can only let it go so long into this. I'm sweating in October, where we've had snow, we've had freeze. I've had a half an inch of ice on the old swimming pond before we close. So it's always like, how cold's it gonna be, and can we? I've had icicles that go from the water taps all the way to the ground. Well, I had to go kick them and turn them, but like, oh, the water's still running, good to go, yeah.
Still flows.
So what kind of amenities do you guys have, Forrest?
We have 40 campsites, but it's all a free for all anyways. Like we don't sell sites. We sell per person per night. But we have 40 fire pits. That's an easier way to say it. We have 40 fire pits. We have a very rustic pavilion. We've also got 1 or 2 tents that we can always loan out. We have a bathhouse with hot showers, actual hot showers, flushing toilets, urine, men's and ladies side, septic dump out. So if you're camping here for the weekend, you can dump your camper before you go.
That's cool.
Yeah, we actually had that before we did the new septic, and the new septic also added a dump out in front of the bathhouse now too. So it's all It's all spiffy.
Mm.
It's a shiny poop spot now.
No, I will say the bathroom is like probably the greatest thing. I mean, I don't know, maybe not the greatest thing, but it's a pretty nice thing to have on the property.
Which is funny, but we're embarrassed about our bathhouse because it's, as Liza would say, it's a shithole.
Mm.
Yeah,
Well,
but beggars can't be choosers. If you wanna pour some pony to shit on, you just gotta take what you can get. I mean, like it's better than a wolf spider hanging out under your ass in a porta potty, so I'll take it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, it might still be in the toilet, right? Like it's a
but at
static
least the
building.
contrast of like the brown to white, at least you could see the difference. Where like inside a porta potty, I mean, shit, I wouldn't put a flashlight in there to check it out. Just hope and pray. I'm just like, okay. Ooh, oh nope, that was just an itch. Never mind, we're fine.
Sight out of mind.
Yep.
Yup, pretend like it doesn't exist.
Oh, those
Yeah.
Roush porta potties. This is I don't know how the hell we got into this conversation, but
but
those
we're
I
here
think
now, but
that's what you were talking about, right, Cody? With those,
Yeah.
because I remember going in. I forget which night it was, but you had complained about a spider, and I was like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" And I went in. I didn't notice it. I did use that bathroom, but there were a lot of webs, and I'm glad I was as inebriated as I was, and it was dark, and I didn't care because wherever that spider was, it was fucking big because those webs were there was a lot of them.
I'm not a pussy when it comes to spiders. I don't really mind spiders. But I think the problem is just you're in such a confined space, you feel like you got
With that
nowhere to
spider,
go.
yeah, that
You don't
big
even
ass
have
spider.
enough space to pull your trousers up.
Vulnerable. You're vulnerable. Your pants are.
Yeah.
You ain't running away at no fast speed.
Luckily, there's that Burger King down the street with the shitter. So, like, if it's ever that bad, at least you could go down there. But I don't know. Shoot, some of those weekends up at Badlands, like Badlands is a beautiful, beautiful property. I mean, the view is absolutely gorgeous. You can't beat it, and then the wheeling is super fun. But after 3 days, you want to at least wash your hair out. Like, where at least if there's like a shower, like a running water, just something to be able to like run water through your hair just to kind of like freshen up. That's kind of nice. You can't beat that.
Yep.
So,
Everybody who's ever talked to Liza and I about off-road park, like I'm thinking about picking up this 50 or 100 or 150 acres. Our first words of counsel are make sure you start with a campground.
yeah.
Make campground, whatever hoops you've got to go through to be a campground, be a campground.
Yeah.
And put some basic amenities in. Like I feel like Roush Creek is missing such an opportunity by not like blocking off a little bit of their parking lot as a campground. Like just go ahead and be called a campground, put up a little bathhouse, some picnic tables, and charge a premium for it. Like right now, you don't even need to pay for camping, right? You can just stay overnight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
you're paying a premium though.
oh
Well,
yeah, you are
you-
to wheel.
You're paying premium to get in there and wheel, and a lot of that is their insurance policy and what it takes to insure for charging for off-roading.
hmm
And I get it. Like I get it. I know that it's expensive, but I get why they have to charge that much money. But I mean, I can't imagine anybody wouldn't go ahead and pay another $20 a night to go ahead and stay at a campground that
If I'm already paying 65 a day to wheel, what's another 20?
Yeah.
I know. Feel that? You don't. But
So-
if I can stay in a campsite that has an actual fire pit and a picnic table, and I don't have to walk, I don't have to leave property to go use a flushing toilet. I can just use a flushing toilet, maybe even a hot shower, and wash my hands. Oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
it's a no-brainer.
Sometimes I wouldn't even mind a cold shower just to
Oh,
wash.
I'll take it. You know, some of those days, dude. Some of those
hot-ass
days.
yeah. Anything.
And
Yeah.
I bet for the bank too, it's probably a whole lot easier to get a loan for a campground than it is for an off-road or adventure park like oh my
Right.
God, Tennessee. What's the fucking Windrock? Like Windrock is a massive adventure park, if you will. It has all of the crazy or extreme sports all in one. can you imagine going to a bank and being like, "Hey, I want to buy this property to do things that could kill people. How's that sound?" They're like, "Ah, go fuck yourself." Like that's not happening. So,
Yeah.
but I think they're too far gone to be honest with you. I think if they like, it would be nice for Roush to do some camping and amenities, but I don't think they'd ever be able to make the switch to. I don't know how to allude to it without it just blatantly saying it, but to a campground with extracurricular activities out in the woods. I think they just have such a prominent name that they would have to sell the company off and then do it again, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, they could,
Yeah.
That's
if I think we're more in the line of people would pay more if they put more money into a actual camping spot versus a gravel parking lot with tire rims thrown into the woods with some clearings, usually surrounded by hornet nests. In the
Yes.
Granted,
Yeah,
don't get me
that's what-
wrong. For free camping, it's not bad at all, but could be better.
And
everybody that camps there would probably be willing to go ahead and pay the upcharge to help finance their new campground addition to their off-road.
Yeah.
I would
correct.
think. I would. Why
Yeah,
not? Like,
we went to Black Hills off-road in Harlan,
Black Mountain.
Kentucky.
But yeah,
Black Mountain. Is it Black Mountain or is it Black Hills?
I thought it was Black Mountain.
Doesn't matter.
All right, it's Black Mountain in the Black Hills then of Harlan.
Sure.
Sorry, country music's playing a number on my brain. But basically, they have cabins that you can rent, and they sleep like. I'm not gonna say they comfortably sleep like 8, but you can do it. And then you get a hot shower, you have a actual toilet to use, and you have a spot to work on your rig that's almost flat. It's not perfectly flat, but it's almost flat. And it's really, really nice for making the experience better.
But don't you also have like an actual kitchen there too?
Nah, we had a thing
Eh.
in a
Hey,
microwave.
I'll take a stink.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely sort of a nice surprise. I mean, they do have campsites, but like the fact that we were able to get our shoebox of a cabin and just have a bed to sleep in and just
Yeah,
a
well,
roof was kind of cool.
I'm going back this year with Jason and definitely getting a cabin.
Yeah.
So,
I
it's
don't know
a
how those guys-
major.
And they've got
Huh?
like big cabins too. They
Oh,
don't
yeah.
have there's like little ones, but then there's the big ones. The big ones gotta be an absolute just madhouse some weekends.
I wonder if not Battlegrounds, Badlands is taking homage from FNF with his ideas of creating a proper campground. Because I know that was something that he mentioned compared to like our first year going, where he just had tons of logs and was like, "Ah, no, set it on fire and have fun." To where this year he was like, keep it down a little bit, like park in your perfect spots. I think he
Yeah.
might be taking homage of how you guys set FNF up to where it's like campground, curricular activities on the side. Like, I think he is going that route. Did you talk with him about that, or is that just something you would think he might have picked up from your guys'?
we've never talked with Chip, so we don't really have any input there. Our takeaway has always been, like with all the places around, it's always been, you can't have zero structure and zero rules
Mhm.
for it.
Mhm.
Harris Mount, one example. Badlands, if Chip doesn't grab the bull by the horns and start putting some rules in place and creating some structure and creating some sort of environment that is a little more welcoming to camping. Like again, at least in New England, I feel like you need to start with camping, because most of these properties in New England are 200 to 400 acres at best. So, like, you've got to have something else. When people come off the trails, they need to go and have the campground experience, and they want to like crack their beers with their buddies and cook some good food, have a little party, and be able to go use the bathhouse and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think that he's wisely realizing that. Hopefully he is, and gonna put a little more structure into the property, both via rules and what you're allowed to do, as well as if he turns it into a campground, which more power to him. I've always been of the mind that there is more than enough need for wheeling than we can fulfill. Like we can't be the only wheeling available in New England. There needs to be way more than us. Plus, we're way too niche for to supply everybody in New England.
Yeah.
So, if other places can be up and running and successful, then everybody benefits.
Yeah.
Like,
Gets more people into it, and
absolutely.
just more places to go, right? And there's no downside to having more
Well,
properties.
there's more people than ever getting into it too.
Super popular these days, and with which you can buy Jeeps and get into the whole Jeep life. Definitely drives it. Whether you like it, you hate it. The fact remains that the whole lifestyle is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Sort of, it just keeps it pumping along. I mean, did you guys see how fast Wheeling for Warrior sold out?
Like,
Oh, that's
not even a minute.
That's
4 minutes, they said.
That's
Insane.
yes, Wheeling for Warriors. I am super pumped that that's happening here. I can't say about those guys. Mark St. Germain is a machine.
I know.
When it comes,
those waffles and all the other stuff that he's put on, just insane.
the amount of money that he's already raised this year, and the event hasn't even happened yet.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I love it for him, honestly.
I'm just pissed I didn't get a ticket.
It honestly seems like half of the event is the stuff leading up to the event.
True story right there. It really is all about raising a metric fuck ton of money for veterans,
Yep.
for a good cause, and a chance to bring together a whole bunch of people that may not have met each other and hung out and partied and wheeled together otherwise. Is icing on the cake.
I think that's huge too, because I was just thinking on, like, if let's say the guys from Rockaholics were to invite some of us out, like, yeah, okay, let's say Graham, you could go with Colin, you two can play around with the bigger guys and you're all set. But if let's say I were to want to go, there's a good chance that if I wasn't in Backyard Built, there's probably a good chance I would never get to wheel with Mike Craig or Timmy or Chris Ioshawa or anything like that. So Wheeling for Warriors is really that perfect melting point of you get your greens, you get your blues, you get your blacks, you get your reds, and then at the end, you get to all hang out. You get to, do they do actual like 50-50 raffles and ticket raffles and stuff like that, right? So
yeah,
you're totally right with that. It is the perfect melting pot of a smaller buggy or a smaller Jeep guy getting to experience rock crawling to the furthest extent, and that's fucking awesome.
That's part of why Fall Crawl has always been such a popular event here. It's traditionally it's been our biggest event of the season, although curious to see if Wheeling for Warriors gives it a run for its money this year, which I think it might end up being. Wheeling for Warriors will probably end up being bigger. Have any of you guys ever made it to a Fall Crawl? I'm sure you've all heard of Fall Crawl.
I've heard of it. I'm excited to potentially go this year, but I have not been able to go.
No, I did. I went with Sean. I could be totally wrong. Maybe it wasn't Fall Crawl. I think I went with Sean Pierce, the president of Backyard Built. I forget why mine wasn't. Oh, I blew the 50 up. I couldn't drive my Jeep, but I went with as a passenger with Sean in his buggy, which needs work, but it was a ton of fun anyways.
So yeah, big event. Also, so that's NEA only. But a lot of those people, they don't ever get a chance to see each other because it's all the clubs at once.
Yep.
So it's all
Yeah,
these people see each other once a year at fall crawl, and
Mhm.
some of these people only wheel that once a year. They put their rig together literally for fall crawl.
Huh. That's
So
wild.
again, the chance to see all these different people. I always loved the chance to hang out on a weekend where everybody was a stranger. You
Yep.
know, wheel people. That was Liza's big thing. Whenever we'd sign up for a trail, it's like let's. And before I would started volunteering to lead trail runs, when we would just go and recreationally wheel, we'd always try and go somewhere different so that we could hang out with different people. Because how we wheel with our club members, every month.
Hmm.
Branch out a little bit and see how the other side lives and hang out. Maybe you'll be the big fish in a little pond. Maybe you'll get a dose of humble pie and beat a little fish and be like, oh, I really not that good, am I?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a lot of fun to be the big fish in the small pond. Sometimes it's fun to get the dose of humble pie.
Yeah, except for when you're hanging out with you assholes, and it's always the small fish in the big pond.
Well, you gotta find some
swim in.
smaller Cherokees.
I try, and they're all open, and care for their fucking bodies. Okay,
Well, there you
It's
go.
me-
They're the
it's
they're
me
the
and
smaller
Richie
fish.
and Marvell and Dan. Do I have to spell it out anymore? It's me and Richie. What do you want from me? But no, I wish I set up the time to go to Wheeling for Warriors. I think it would have been a really great event. Speaking on that, I have yet to actually go to Field and Forest. What are the requirements to bring your Jeep on trail for the different trail levels? Because I've heard arraying things throughout the different years between different people.
So right now our minimum requirements is to get on the property, and that gets you on the greens and blues. Is 33s, 2 lockers, and a winch.
So I
We used
still
to
couldn't go because I don't have a winch. Fuck my life.
We used
Get a
to
winch,
differentiate green and blue, but too many people would get bored with. I mean, there's only like 3 green trails on the whole property, so then they'd be under equipped and turning into a trail tampon on a blue trail and on a black trail.
Yep.
So we're like, right, this basically blue trail minimum requirements, and that'll get you on the green, and whatever, I don't care, because at some point I've just got to like stop the bleeding and be like, okay, I can't give everybody a driving test. So see, that's a thing that's different about us too. Is most places are recommended vehicle requirements, and ours are mandatory. Like this is like the minimum. If you show up with 33s, 2 lockers, and a winch, and try and even run Russ's Ridge, you may or may not get through unscathed without body damage. And if you try and do a blue on 33s, 2 lockers, and a winch, I can't see you getting through without like fresh scrapes on all the underneath and possibly here and there, and like because you need to be built to a certain amount to like clear that tree and have enough traction and clearance to get up and over this thing, and or you need the talent to overdrive your rig. And I like I said, I can't give everybody a driving test, so we figured anybody should be able to hammer 33s, 2 lockers, and a winch down any of the greens and blues. And if you get body damage, I really don't care. We warned you. Really did try and warn. Like,
Yeah. I think every stage is like, body damage, high chance for body damage, or I forget what the wording was, but like pretty much every, except for
Yeah.
reds, which is just total disregard. Right? Yeah.
no way to get through a red trail without laying your A pillars and your roof line
On something.
into.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
No.
Like, we build trails that do that to you on purpose.
Yep.
Mention
Love
for Summit Street, and I went and looked at it. I'm like, oh my god, you are worse than me, you mother. Like, oh, asshole. Yes, you did it exactly the way I wanted you to. Like, such a jerk.
Yep.
But so I've had people come off off the trail. Like the trail was fresh, and my friend comes and sits next to me Saturday night at fall crawl, and he's like, "Dude, why'd you cut that like that? Like, it's impossible. You can't drive a Jeep into that trail." I'm like, "What are you talking about? The very first rig that they drove through there was on deuce and a halves."
Oh,
It fit. Maybe you were just afraid to get in there the way he did, but trust me, test drove the trail before they open it up for public consumption, and it's doable. Maybe you need better tires.
was he on Cut Boggers? Is this where that came from?
On DOT IROX, though.
Oh,
do it.
even worse. God.
You
I
think
hated.
they're worse.
Pardon?
You think that they're worse than like a cut bogger? I don't necessarily think that they're worse.
I had a tough time with mine. A, probably because they were 15 years old. B, because they were bias ply, so my little ass Jeep didn't have enough weight to squish them down even at 3 psi. But they did good in the snow, so I can't really complain about that. They cut trail pretty good.
Awesome snow tires, man.
You
Like,
wouldn't think
they're-
so, but
Balloons, they're gonna do great. They're balloons with little paddles on them.
Yeah,
They're
just
like
tiny
chugging
little.
through.
And they're full of sights. All the little paddles have sights,
Yep.
which is key.
that is true. That is very true. So, do you have any raccoon facts for us?
I knew you were going to ask.
Try to break the ice there.
Farming experiences with beavers and
Beavers.
I fucking hate beavers.
Beaver facts?
beavers are assholes.
Okay.
Yup.
Beavers are relentless. I have to use my winch to drag out the dam under the bridge going into the property. I almost stalled the winch today. Tomorrow it'll be stopped up again until I can
Wow.
chase them out.
They're that persistent.
Out.
Wow. So beavers are that bad that they just like if they pick a spot, they will just continue to want to go back to that spot.
The pond, if you look at Google Earth, have you ever noticed that there's a pond behind us?
I'm not too
It's
sure.
literally called the Beaver Pond because there's a beaver dam making it a pond. So
Wow.
it's a prolific population of beavers in there all the time. And so interesting fact about beavers is the 2-year-olds get kicked out when they're, wait for it, 2 years old. So they get booted. So they go looking for new territory, and we're right upriver. We're a good food source. So it literally takes them like 5 minutes to go from the pond upriver through our brook, and then we have like a beaver den on property. We have natural beaver habitat. So they like to dam up the bridge.
Huh.
So it's a never ending fight.
And they are fucking mean.
They like to slap their tail at me. Like if I was to go out right now and try and scare them off, I would definitely have one slap its tail at me as he heard me come up.
Wow.
For sure. That's a pretty loud smack too. Like tail is probably like 6 inches wide, 10 inches long. They go dive under. They whip that tail up and wham!
On the water.
Yeah.
Oh,
On the
wow.
water, trying to scare you off.
Yeah.
Think that it's a warning.
Hmm.
Yes,
feel-
yeah. Good point. Liza just said that if there's other beavers with them, that's a warning to them too. That hey, stranger danger.
Yeah.
Oh, we got 2 animal facts. You hear that? That's fucking cool. I'll take it. Love that.
Flying squirrels are an actual thing in New Hampshire. I've probably shot 40 out of my house.
So the first time I ever saw one, and it wasn't in New Hampshire, it was in Massachusetts. It was the freakiest thing because I was I was at a property at my old job. We used to do condos, and I had to cut down a tree. I was told to cut this tree down. I said, okay, no problem at all. Well, I looked up and I saw what I thought to be woodpecker holes. Didn't think anything of it. I'm looking up, and I had my one coworker standing next to me, and I'm looking up, and I like pushed the tree because it was kind of hollow, so I was just seeing how I should cut it. All of a sudden, this fucking squirrel's poking his head out, and I'm like, God dang it! Now I gotta like get these squirrels out of here. So I shake it again. This little fucker jumps at me, down straight at me, puts his little wings out, and then soars around past me. I'm just like, what the actual fuck did I just witness? And my buddy's freaking out because he's like, holy shit, flying squirrels are real. What? And now he's like running to my other buddy because now we're going to him and telling him about it. And he's like, no, flying squirrels are fake. That's like in the Amazon or something. So then we had to go back. Now we're shaking the fucking tree again, trying to get another one to come out. Oh, God, I hadn't thought about that story in so fucking long. Good times.
Aren't they? Cute little fuckers, aren't they?
Yeah, they're little. They're like, I don't know, about this big or so. Yeah.
They have like a 2-to-1 glide ratio. So 20 feet high, they can glide 40 feet.
Wow.
So this poor house that we bought with the campground was infested with them because it's been abandoned for like 30 years before we moved back in. They had 30 years to establish their empire.
Oh no.
Oh yes.
And you didn't think like make them pets would be the better option? Just get them the hell out was definitely the answer.
They had to go. I had to evict them. They live inside the walls, and hey, guess what? They hibernate in the winter, so they don't leave.
Oh.
That doesn't mean that they're sleeping for the entire winter. They're scurrying around, digging new holes, digging new tunnels, keeping you awake in the middle of the night because they're nocturnal. They're not like gray squirrels. Gray squirrels and red squirrels come out during the day. These guys only come out at night.
It's more like a bat, except,
So
they
not
are
really.
remarkable bat.
Huh.
Except that
You know what blew my mind? Quick thing. Caitlin's never seen a black squirrel before. We saw one this past weekend, and she freaked out about it. She has never seen a black squirrel before. Do you guys have seen black squirrels, or is that just?
I've seen a black squirrel before. I've seen red
You
squirrels.
Pardon?
there's one that we see like a half a mile down the road. Like every year, I notice him cross. I'm like, dude, one of these times you're gonna cross the road and you ain't gonna make it.
Yeah. Now, you two Connecticut boys, have you seen black squirrels?
on Richie's property.
So then I don't know if she's just oblivious then, because like she was just like, holy crap, what? Like, I mean, fully ecstatic that there was a black squirrel. I'm like, yeah, that's normal as hell. Like, what are you talking about? I see them all the time. So I
Oh,
don't
you
know.
see them all. They're pretty rare up here, but you do see them.
I guess and first time my grandfather, who's from Missouri, said the same thing. He's never seen them before. Then all of a sudden he was seeing them everywhere, and he thought it was the craziest thing ever. And
They're definitely like a Massachusetts and Connecticut thing, but I've seen a couple in Tennessee too.
interesting.
It's weird because I'd never seen one before until like 10 years ago, and that's like all I would fucking see.
Huh.
Like I went for a solid couple years without seeing like any other color squirrel other than black.
Huh.
Do you
That's pretty
suppose that it probably bears would probably be a good idea to talk about your property to Bob? Because
Oh yeah,
interesting little
Oh.
correlation there.
And
I have like 28 acres in Connecticut, Bob, and we've been cutting trails through the wood for the last, well, me and Luke for 9-10 years, but backyard built for the last 3 years. And you know, we even had a rockaholic here a couple times.
That's cool. That's if you're smart about it, 20 plus, anything more than 20 acres supplies a good time. It's just a matter of like finding all the good obstacles. But yeah, that's
It's-
awesome, man.
Work to do all.
Yeah, it's a really cool property because it's built on like the side of a mountain. So there's a lot of ledges and it's a little bit closer to a southern style of wheeling compared to what you would get in the traditional like New England area. And it's always wet, so it's constantly you're having to hit everything pretty hard except for in 2020.
Yeah.
2020, the big year that
Mhm.
everybody remembers. So you got a lot of hill climbs there.
I'm sorry.
Hill climbs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's there. Everything's hill climb.
That's the one thing that Field and Forest doesn't really have is no major actual hill climbs. I mean, there's vertical climbs and stuff, but like it's not a hill climb where like you've got to stay into it and carry momentum and do some hill slaying. Like I don't have any of that here.
Yeah.
Some of them are also a lot on the shorter side, so you're doing like 15 feet, but you're going up a decent sized double step rock ledge while you're going up that 15 feet and having to carry momentum.
Yeah. I mean, you might only drive like 15 feet forward. I mean, you could be going like 10, 15 feet high in that 15 feet. Forward.
I
You
gotcha.
you do have two climbs though. The one that Greenleaf just like barraged his way up through and then got to a point that he couldn't go any further, and the other one where Luke or not Luke, it was Colin who catastrophically broke his Jeep. I'd say those two climbs, and I think there's probably a few more that you could get to. That if we actually cut them, that would create like an actual like
Well,
hill climb
the
of
the
sorts.
biggest issue is the brush, at least from what I remember. If we clear the
Yeah.
brush away, like that section in the middle, Richie, that didn't used to exist, once we cleared
Yeah.
all the shit away, it was like, wait, there's a rock pile there, and you can drive. Like that's actually like a cool obstacle. You couldn't even see it until we cut it.
Yeah.
It's.
So is it a brush pile from
Yeah.
clearing trail?
I'm sorry.
Is it a brush pile from clearing trail?
No, it's a pile from the farm from the 30s, 40s, 50s, logging the whole forest.
Gotcha, gotcha,
And it's
gotcha.
like bramble bush too, the whole thing. It's or not even bramble bush. What's the super tightly packed? Oh my gosh, I think it's evasive in Massachusetts. It's either evasive or it's like sanctioned, like you're not supposed to cut it down. But it's like that super tightly packed brush down by
Uh,
like the swamp area.
I know that.
Yeah, pardon? You cut out.
I have a lot of mountain laurel. I know that.
Wow. I don't know if that's what I was thinking of, but
Yeah.
yeah, so with FNF being such a massive sought after place, what's your plans for like the next 5 years? Like where do you hope to see the property in 5 years?
Um, that's a good question. I would love to be able to diversify a little bit more, maybe a little less off-roading, or maybe set a different way, maybe some different off-roading events. But it is what it is too. I mean, after a while, you just sort of get settled into a routine. And you know what? Where I'd like to see us in 5 years with a real pavilion with a real roof.
That'd be cool.
Oh my God! Like that is like one of our thorns in our side is that tarp covered
Yeah.
pavilion. It's so weather affected. A bad storm comes through, we've got to take it down.
Yep.
Um, or risk losing the tarp and ripping apart the little bit of structure that's there to hold it. Anybody who's been there has probably seen it. I don't. If you haven't been there, you don't know what I'm talking about. But I basically have 3 50-foot beams that are held up with 5 poles, and we drape a tarp over the middle one and bungee it out to the side ones, and that's our pavilion. So that's my big goal. And within 5 years, is that a real pavilion with a real roof can withstand a hurricane. Maybe some new picnic tables. I know Eliza would love to have a new bathhouse, but we're sort of stuck in our side. Like we can't expand. Um, we've there's room for a few more trails here and there, but for the most part, like once I put that new trail in the north end, I pretty much exhausted what's there. I could cut a few new lines in here and there. There's no room for any brand new trails, though. I mean, it is what it is now. You're just gonna watch it get harder and harder.
Yep.
which nothing nothing makes a place get harder faster than sustained use, and that's one thing I've noticed since we bought it. Our exposure to the 4x4 community skyrocketed when we bought it because we're proactive. Gretchen, the previous owner, sweetheart that she was not proactive in the 4x4 community, so she was beholden to whatever representatives would deal with her.
Hmm.
Because we were, fully immersed in the 4 by community. We're well versed in how to do things online, social media, things like that. So it was easy for us to make it explode. Um, the downside is that you see how fast the trails have turned.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
And
So, oh, go ahead, Cody.
well, something that I know. So every July we go to Badlands for like our club's like big event that we try to get as many people to. And I remember specifically this past year when we went right after I think it was Wheeling for Warriors came through,
Yeah.
correct? And the amount of trail erosion due to just tires going over just from that one major event
Oh,
like
yeah.
was 3 times progress compared to what we saw the 2 years prior. So I can only imagine, especially with Field of Forest being such a hot commodity and especially with having so many large events and large groups going through, I can only imagine the erosion and rock movement and just terrain change that you guys see year by year. That's got to be pretty impressive, almost.
Last year was a butt ripper of a year. I mean, with all the torrential rain we got, the place was just a soup fest every single weekend. So last year was a huge step in erosion. Things got bad fast.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
speaking of the, I always use Ma Bell as a perfect example of trail wear and tear. When me and Luke first started going there, like I always joke about the fact that you could have driven a fucking lawnmower all the way up the mountain. Granted on the bypasses, but you could have done it. You know,
when I started going there, I was Cherokee 33s, lockers both ends, stock gearing, and I drove it end to end, not taking any bypasses at
yeah.
all. Like I was all gung ho back then, and I lucked out. I managed to like put on a good show all the time, so I did not take all the bypasses. And like I said, 33s, two lockers, and basically wherever I felt like going.
When
Um,
I started going in 2012, right, the only bypass that I would take would be the loading dock bypass on 33s or 34s lock because loading dock is that one really vertical ledge in there. Um, I
is that the way to land? You can, like after the mud puddle, you can go left and go up that steep ledge to the left, or you can take the main trail to the right.
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
That that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's the it's the second obstacle after that fork. When you go left, you have your like rock garden, the kind of two side by side different obstacles, and then if you keep going straight, it's then probably about I'd say what 11 foot vertical with an undercut on the right side, and then like a rock
It's
pile.
not that tall, but it is steep, and it's got a little bit of a. It
Six,
puts you in a
7, 8
puddle.
feet somewhere in there, depending where you hit it.
Yeah.
No shot. I could climb up an 8 foot rock. I could not like standing there and trying to think about going up it. There's no shot of me like climbing up it. No shot.
When I first started going there in 2001, um, I could get up that with 33s and two lockers.
Wow.
It
Yeah,
was
and
Wow.
I
was-
did it once in my old buggy, or not once in my old buggy. I used to do it routinely in my old buggy, but in my Cherokee, I would get up on there, get the nose up, and then back up until I was like about to fall out, clutch dump it, and it just never would go on 40s locked front and rear. no matter which side I would take.
Sometimes those undercuts, man, they get so deep. There's just no powering up them unless you got stickies.
Yep.
That's where the stickies come in. They just like help you overcome what seems impossible.
Yeah, the stickies. Graham got a set of them from me, and I'm really excited to see what they do on his rig.
I need tubes, or I need to get them vulcanized by Chris or somebody because they've got some leaks. They've been
What kind of?
just the BFG red labels, the crawlers.
Oh, the best ones.
And they're
Yeah.
already pre-worn in too. They're
Well,
almost
best.
bald. Not quite. There's still some tread on them, but they're peeling. They've seen their fair share of use.
Those tires give until you see the air. It's a true story. I've watched Eugene go over stuff with like layers and layers going. Like he's down to the last layer of rubber. Like there's no more steel. It's the inside rubber that like when you like pull a tire off and buff the inside
Mhm.
to like put a patch in, that's the rubber that was left. It was just
Drag slicks at that point.
I'm like, how will you even go? And he's like, I don't know, but I'm not swapping his tire out until it goes.
That's great.
Can't argue with him on that if it's still going.
He was just trying to prove a point at that point. He's like, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna wheeling it. I don't even care.
As long as it keeps pushing you forward.
He gets to come up here all the time too. He's a low maintenance sort of a dude. He's a good time.
Yeah.
Never would have. He. Well, I knew that he had it in him. Him winning the first humble pie and then the second. Dude, he won the second humble pie by 3 seconds.
Wow.
Like the very second humble pie, and they're already like this close in the competition. I'm like, I already have to make it harder.
Yeah.
All right, holes. I have to make it really bummed. Last year was the first year that I would only take the top 20. I only guaranteed that the top 20 qualifier, the fastest 20 qualifiers, would have a shot at the bounty run.
Mm-hmm.
Chances are it'll be more because attrition. But, you know, that was new for last year. Like, hey, you're not guaranteed a spot if you qualify. You need to be in the top 20 fastest qualifier. So now when I blow the horn on Friday afternoon, there's a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I need to get this done.
Yeah.
And now those top 20, is it based off of time or is it based off of position finished?
Qualifying time, like how from noon on Friday when I blow the horn, that's signifying that the trails are open. Whatever time they come back and say, and they show me their 20 pictures and say, okay, I did all 5 trails, or all 6.
Wow.
So, you know, and it's just so from 12 o'clock, it's just easy. It's whatever time stamp they come back with. They come back at 5:51. The guy took 5 hours and 51 minutes to do the trails, and so yeah, there was a little bit of crying and gnashing of teeth when I said that, but it's like they're getting so good and so fast that there's so many guys qualifying that I can only. So the bounty runs are one at a time, and they have a 45-minute time limit. And that was new last year. It used to be a 60-minute time limit. Now it's 45-minute time limit.
Wow.
And in order to like fit that many runs in 2 days in a row and get back and have dinner, because we're providing dinner. And also, oh yeah, by the way, we do the Saturday night shootout. It's like, well, I can only fit this many rigs in on a bounty run in a weekend. So at some point I can't so the year before, 2020, the year of the hero traction, had like 26 or 28 qualifiers.
Wow.
20, I can't remember. It's either 26 or 28 people came off the trails with a qualifying time. It's like
And how many people started off?
31.
So like
That's a
majority
pretty
of the
good.
people.
That's a good turnout, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
of
but
people
that
who
was the
qualified.
Oh, it's too easy though. If everybody's
So
making it,
what's the
right?
selection?
it's all me. Mostly you need to show up during the season. So when I first started doing it, it was basically a reward for coming and wheeling here and showing me that you want to wheel hard trails, red trails. So if you just come here and wheel black trails, I won't even give you a second thought. Like, at no point will you be considered to run humble pie because it's all about red trails. So when I see people always trying to come here and run the red trails and being gung ho and having a good attitude about wheeling the property and not being tool bags, basically,
Yeah.
on a consideration list for an invite. And then sometimes too, it's not even people that come here. So at first I always said I'm never going to allow somebody's first visit to Field and Forest to be humble pie. I've since changed that a little bit, reserving a few spots here and there for people who run their mouths on the internet and maybe get a big dose of humble pie. Maybe I'm coming around to it. And I asked all the drivers last year, like if they were cool with seeing new faces and being like cream of the crop. Some of the bigger names that run in like the X Rock series. I asked them, like, do you want a quote unquote pro driver to get an invite to come here and potentially walk away with it? And they were all like, you know what? If he comes here and hands us our ass, then he deserved it. And we'd like to see how we shake out. So I at least know that I'm not going to piss any drivers off that have been coming here over and over and supporting us.
Mm-hmm.
So I have that leeway. I at least feel good about it. So,
and you got to give him competition. If you can't have one guy leading the pack forever and ever, kind of like go bring it back to dirt bike, and Ryan Villapoto was the top Supercross rider for year after year after year, and nobody could touch him. He literally had to retire to get other guys to be the lead guys. You don't want that. You want to keep it fun. So bringing in.
So-
sorry.
You're good. You're good.
I am noticing that that's pretty much self-regulating as far as the humble pie drivers and stuff. Like Nate Gilbert, for example, he won last year with his new buggy. First, so he's the guy who got beat by 3 seconds by Eugene in the second year. He immediately started building a new buggy and stepping up his game and showing up more and more often and running the trails in the hopes that A, I'm going to invite them, and B, if they get familiar with the trails, that they'll do better. So they're all stepping up their game. So the guy that won last year, if he wins again this year, he earned it. Like, it's not just because he's the best and nobody can touch him. It's because he went above and beyond to make himself better, make his rig better.
Mm-hmm.
So many guys are building buggies from scratch just to so that they can do well at humble pie. I can't even wrap my head around it. It's like we're just this podunk little place.
But it's also kind of like being at the high rollers table at the casino. You hold your dick grows a few extra inches because you got to run humble pie. It's true though. Like, I mean, you wouldn't ask some guy with a 35-inch tire on an XJ open to run it. No, you're asking the guy who has put the time and effort and money into his rig to be running at that level. And then, as you said, is there money for the winner? Is there a purse? Yeah,
It's,
so that's awesome.
Yeah, I take so I charge all the drivers. We charge the drivers more money. We basically charge them the same event fee that we charge all the spectators, and then we charge them plus $40 more. And we literally take that $40 per driver and put it into a pot for the winner.
That's cool.
And the winner,
That's really cool.
Saturday night shootout, they have to buy into that, which I had a few grumblings a couple years ago about that, but it's like, you know what? We're literally taking the money that we charge you to sign up to do Saturday night shootout and putting it all in the pot to just hand back to the winner. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
right?
Now, are they getting pissed because they feel that the shootout is more directed to a specific style of rig and not necessarily their own, or
No, because we charged them, and it was
well,
only because we charged another $20 to like do the shootout.
what? It's a
But
different event. Of course, you'd pay for it. What?
I
That's
know
silly.
that's like it's literally an extra event. So, it's on the Elm Street climb, which last year for Kevin Powell's Memorial weekend here, we put a plaque up there calling it Cape Howe Climb. So it happens on Cape Howe Climb.
Awesome.
It's
Fucking good guy.
Yeah, he was a really good guy. I miss that dude. Kevin could rub some people the wrong way, but he was deep down genuinely a quality dude. Like, he was salt of the earth quality dude. He literally would take the shirt off of his back and hand it to you and put it on you if you needed it.
I don't know how he could ever rub someone the wrong way. In my experience, he was able to sit there and it might just be because of an autistic asshole, but he would sit there and go through the numbers on everything that he was doing and break it down to a manner where I could understand it easily.
That's cool.
I'd say somebody might get. He was shop talk 24/7. I'd say, like in the sense of like the locker room shop talk. That was his way of communicating, and I feel some people, if they're not in that realm often, get thrown off by that and could be a little deterred from it. I think is kind of, or he was. That's what I would say, at least from my times of meeting him. But
Sometimes you could get a little frustrated with him when you were talking about buying this or buying that or this product or that product, and I got one of those. It's like, well, damn it, Kevin, I can't buy them because you got them all. That was the extent of it, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you have all of New England's inventory in coal parts.
Yeah. Literally. And then you could call him up and be like, hey, I need an XJ drive shaft CV joint like yesterday. Do you have one? Yeah, I got 4 of them. You got $20 or a cold beer?
Literally give you the shirt off of his. You've heard a story about him loaning Mike and Megan his Toyota.
No, I haven't heard of that story.
Yep. He
Pie, a samurai buggy. For Humble Pie, a couple years.
buggy.
Their rig was broken. DOA wasn't going to do it. He's like, here, go qualify with my buggy. And he walked and spotted them through every single trail, and then got like through 5.5 trails doing his own qualifying before he tossed a rear drive shaft.
Wow.
That's who Kevin was. Like, he's that guy who will literally do whatever he can to see you succeed.
I
That's
remember pulling up to his shop one of those days. I forget what it was. It might have been to just shoot the shit and buy some small parts, like MP231 parts. But he's sitting there and he's got the freaking axle shaft coming out of his rig. And I'm like, what did you do? And he's like, oh, dump truck got stuck down the road. So I took the buggy and pulled him out and I broke a rear axle shaft. But I got a spare chromo sitting on the shelf. It's not a big deal. I'm going to F&F this weekend.
And yeah, that's totally the dude he was. Miss him a lot. So there's another obstacle on Elm Street that we named for him called Crock of Shit. Because he hated it. It was his least favorite. It was the same trail, Elm Street. It was the obstacle that you have to deal with before you get to the climb. And he was always wearing Crocs. So it's crossed. and the obstacle's called Crock of Shit.
That's
And,
great.
figured he'd. I actually like that name even
Yeah,
better
that's
than
actually kind of clever.
right.
Yeah.
I think Rob Levis thought of that.
I could see that coming from Rob. I did
Rob's
see that.
another good dude that we probably should talk to.
He'd
Yeah.
probably be a good. He's a hot ticket for sure.
It would be an interesting one for sure. It'd be a lot of editing notes. I could promise you that. I'm working double time.
He would he would have you hitting the delete button here and there for sure.
He's quite the
Yeah,
character.
when you
though.
go to edit it, there's this little pair of scissors, and you just put your little dot and your other little dot and snip it all out.
Oh yeah, it's that easy. Yeah, absolutely. There's no spacing in between the words to make it sound like a normal conversation. Yeah, no, it's fine.
No, I'm saying on that episode, it
Oh,
would be
yeah.
just snip it all out because technical or editing notes.
Yeah, another good time.
So, Bob,
Shoot.
do you have any questions for us?
Nothing I can really think of.
Fair enough.
Just a compliment. I love the podcast. I can definitely notice an improvement every episode. Like, it was tough for me to get into any early episodes, but
Oh, yeah, they suck.
when I got hooked on those later episodes and then started dialing back and rifling through, finding people that I knew to listen to, was a biggie. I can tell you guys got better and better, and you're getting better at this, and it's a fun show, good time.
Very much.
Thank you appreciate it very much. Hopefully I told some good stories. I
Definitely.
could probably come on and tell some more stories sometime if you want.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Or
Probably
get-
after Humble Pie.
You know,
That
yeah.
would be awesome.
Yeah.
I'd be down for that.
Well, you
And
gotta
the
go
other
to
thing
Humble
I
Pie.
gotta say, after 76 times of doing it, you gotta get better. It
Oh, yeah.
can't be the first episode 76 times.
Right? At that point, you got to be honest with yourself and
Yeah,
wonder,
then we'd probably.
do
have
I
to
do
stop.
7? Or do I call it?
I think there may be more productive things for us to do with our time if we just repeat the first episode over and over and over again.
Yeah,
And
I
I
love
gotta
it.
say, not trying to toot our own horn, but it's been really, really cool to watch the evolution from the driver's seat, if you will, because it was like we were just doing tech splurge dumps of stuff that we thought was really cool to us and talking to the occasional couple of people, and then suddenly it started growing more and more. It was talking to Curtis Behrens, who's an awesome guy, or Jeremy Downs, another awesome guy. And then from there, it was Chris Iashua, Trail Trash.
Honestly, I think it was Chris's episode that really flipped the switch for us. I think his ability to tell a really good story and pushed us to not just worry about the off-road, but to just talk. And like, if the other people in the call are entertained by my story, then people listening are going to be entertained. And I think he was the push that brought us to where we are now, honestly.
Well, he's like the perfect combination. He can go on tangents, but he's also he's really knowledgeable about, his buggies and the axles and the Toyota stuff and just everything. But he can just make it really entertaining at the same time, and he's got a story for everything. So
Another really good one would be Mark.
Nibs.
Mark Nibbs, and this is a call out to Mark Nibbs because there's nothing I can do to enforce it, but I expect to see you at FNF at some point this year.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he got a ticket for Wheeling for Warriors for one of the trails at FNF.
Good.
Awesome.
Good.
I'm fairly confident I saw him post something about that.
yeah,
That'll
I think
be
he
cool.
did. Yeah.
And then
Introduce himself.
he's a really, really good dude. when we first met him, he was on 33s, and we kind of met up at Ma Bell. We went blowing past because he was with a smaller group, and we were just running the hooligan lines. And we stopped, came back, talked with everyone. He looked over my rig, Graham's rig, Cody's rig, and started asking a bunch of questions. And now he's on tons, 40s, stretched out,
Oh, he's more
coilovers.
built than any of us. He like built the whole thing right the first time, skipped all the bullshit, and now it does
He bought
awesome.
a kit though. He kind of cheated
Oh
a
yeah, he
little
did
bit.
kind of cheat,
No.
but it's a pretty nice kit. That guy,
Yeah.
that Greg made a really awesome. We gotta
Speaking
talk
of
to
his
him.
kit, maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that one of these next podcasts. I don't know.
Yeah,
Something
maybe I don't know.
Um,
I haven't.
that...
That's not even an emotion. So
yeah,
hold
and
your
then
horses there. But
I gotta thank people like you, Bob, Sam, Chris, and Nick LeBlanc for hopping on and helping us to step it up even further.
Those are also good episodes too. I listen to all those too. Listen to Nick, listen to Chris, listen to Sam. You know, I was having flashbacks listening to Nick talk about Ultimate Adventure because we had Ultimate Adventure here in 2010. I
Really?
led Trail
Oh
Day number.
yeah.
I forgot. So
yeah,
they only do it once, right? They only use your property one time. So
yeah,
you're
that's
out
it.
until they run out of properties, I guess.
So in 2010, we were their only New England stop.
Yep.
In 2008, they came and did all New England, and we were a blatant omission.
Yep.
But yeah, that was their excuse is we never revisit properties. But it's like, trust me, it's not the same property. It's been
Yeah. It's totally different now.
Love it.
That was a cool time. I got to meet some cool people, hanging out with all the I could name drop, but there's no sense in it. Just it was cool.
Yeah.
In my glory because all my trail heroes that I've been reading about for years came to me, and I got to show. So yeah, I lucked out. That was a cool day.
That for me has been one of the coolest parts about doing this is it's like, hey, I used to read your build on Jeep Form, and I thought you were the coolest shit. You want to come on and tell us about your build? It would be awesome. And
That's pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. You guys are good, really cool opportunity you guys have to meet people from all over the country. It looks like you're mostly concentrating on Eastern Seaboard. Tyler is not, but like he was. So
Yeah. We tried.
he's
We've
cool.
had a few from
Tyler
from
gave
the
me
left,
the
but-
axles that are under my XJ. Well, he
That's
didn't
cool.
give them to me, but awesome dude.
yeah, wicked nice guy. Wicked nice guy.
Yeah, I've got
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out flying out to go and see him this year, but it looks like that might end up conflicting with vacation time, and I kind of want to spend my vacation time on going up to Humble Pie and seeing the homies in New England again.
oh man, it'd be awesome if you came up for that.
Well, I'm trying to make that happen. I don't have a reason yet why it can't happen.
Nice. Nice.
And if I remember correctly, that's towards the end of the summer.
That is the last weekend in September. Always, that's our weekend. I give them all through the summer and just into the fall, because we're only open like 3 weekends after that. So it's basically for all intents and purposes, the end of the season. So that's our big hullabaloo at the end. But
Yep.
the weather's usually still nice. Like it's never usually really cold in the end of September yet. It's October. It starts getting cold.
Perfect. And if people want to find out more about it, where can they find you on social media?
So we are Field and Forest Recreation Area on Facebook. Liza, what's the Insta? Field and Forest Recreation Area on Instagram. And if you just go to our Facebook page and look under events, you'll see Humble Pie when we put it up. You see the motorcycle rallies. We usually, if you just follow Field and Forest on Facebook, you'll see everything that we do. Everything that's available to the public, anyways.
That's awesome.
I'm excited to see more, that's for sure.
Liza just said Instagram is Field and Forrest NH.
Perfect. Well, make sure everybody listening go and check that out because
Yeah,
they're
hit up
awesome.
one of those
And
events. It's one of those properties that once you go to, it's I don't know, my mind was blown, and I don't know why I didn't go there sooner. I'll be totally honest. Like it's one of those places I want to get hooked on because everything just I think I even said it earlier, like it's just that cool of a property. And then you see big balls drop and shit like that, and it's like, whoa, that's way bigger than the pictures. It's awesome.
Right? The pictures don't even remotely
No.
do that justice.
Videos don't do that justice. Then you look at it, you're like, whoa, that's up there.
Look
Yeah.
at it from the top.
Oh yeah, I
Look
don't
at it
wanna. I mean, maybe
from the
at some
top.
point here, but I'm sure it's yeah.
We appreciate the support, buddy. We really do. We're just a little mom and pop rinky dink deal that never bought this place for the money. Like we tell people constantly, like, do the math. We're like, do the math on how much we make a year. Like, we're so not in this for the money. We do it because we're off-roading people, and we if we can come close to breaking even every year, we're pretty happy.
Yeah.
well, I think.
You want
Sorry, go ahead.
you know where I want to see us in 5 years? In the black.
There we
That'd be
go.
pretty.
There we go. Well, I think I speak for everybody in New England. We appreciate you and everything that you guys do. So keep doing it because I'm sure everybody loves it.
Thanks for all the support. We couldn't do it without people being fans of us. So that's what it really comes down to. Thank God for offering who are loyal to us.